Tayo na Pilipinas, tayo na magtago. Hawak kamay tayo para sa pag-asenso. Ikaw at ako, tayong lahat kay Rodrigo Duterte, para sa tunay na pagbabago. Ikaw at ako, tayong lahat kay Rodrigo Duterte.
For the President to continue his leadership, malaking tulong ko yun. Nandun pa rin yung, okay, nandiyan pa naman si Presidente Duterte. Kaya lang, sa gusto natin, kailangan yung Presidente, yung gusto niya, kasama niya. Kung sino yung gusto ng Presidente, yun ang maging kasama niya.
Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Good afternoon sa araw ng Lunes, ika-31 ng buwan ng Mayo 2021. Today is the last day of the month of May, and patapos na ang summer season. Ay umuulan-ulan na, at in fact meron tayong bagyo ngayon na pumapasok na sa area of responsibility ng Pilipinas. So mukhang matatapos na rin ang maiinit na araw. Pero habang patapos na po yung maiinit na araw, ay masasabi natin na yung init sa politika ay nag-uumpisa na, no? At mamayang gabi, in fact, meron tayong isang nakaschedule plan na live stream. Ito po ay tungkol po sa pagtatpo kahapon na araw ng linggo sa pagitan ni dating Senador Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. at si Davao City Mayor Inday Sara Duterte Carpio. Kasama doon si Senator Amy Marcos, no? Dahil yung kaarawan ngayon, ika-43rd birthday ngayong araw ni Inday Sara Duterte. So babatiin po natin ng happy birthday, Inday Sara Duterte. At tila mukhang yung pagtatagpo kahapon dyan sa isang restaurant sa Davao City ay nakakuha po ng pansin ng napakaraming mga Pilipino dahil binigyan ito ng kahulugan, no? And it has been given meaning na parang ito daw ay may kasunduan na niluluto sa pagitan ng dalawang frontrunners. Dalawa po sila, si Inday Sara at si BBM, ang nangunguna sa mga survey, at itong sa opposition naman, yung best bet nila na si Leni Robredo ay kulelat po. So ngayong hapon po ay gaganapin dyan ngayon in a short while ang National Council meeting ng PDP Laban. Yan po ang sinusuportahan ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte, and that is his party. He is the party chairman, no? At ito ay ginaganap ngayon sa utos according to Vice Chairman Secretary Alcusi, at nabanggitin po ito ni Presidential Spokesman Secretary Harry Roque, na mismo si Pangulong Duterte ang nagbigay ng utos na ganapin ito ang National Council meeting sa kabila po ng pagtutol ni Senator Manny Pacquiao na siya ang acting president. Siya po yung acting president diyan ng PDP Laban. Dinala siya diyan ni Senator Coco Pimentel. Yung PDP Laban po ay ipinundar, no, ng kanyang tatay noon na si the late Senator Aquilino Nene Pimentel Jr., no? Siguro para mabigyan ang PDP Laban ng kasikatan, no, ay inimbitahan ito si Senator Manny Pacquiao, no? So ito po papakita ko sa inyo yung mga flashback, no, tungkol po dito sa PDP Laban.
For tonight, sabi nga natin, ibigay lang natin yung manifesto of our support to the chairman of the party, the President, Mayor Duterte, na para sa ganon, we can really echo or we can really make the people feel that PDP is there working and supporting them.
Ang nagsasalita po ay si Secretary Kakusi, no, yung kakatapos ng salita.
Garnered at 91%. Never. So if you want continuity, yung 91% na yun, sigurado. Kung sino po ang ulo, sigurado basta may Duterte, mananalo po yan. Tayo na, Pilipinas. Tayo na, magtato.
Okay, so hintay po natin mag-umpisa yung virtual Zoom council meeting, no? Kasi po tumututol dito si Senator Manny Pacquiao dahil para sa kanya ay illegal daw ito, no? Hindi naman daw siya ang nagpatawag ng council meeting bilang acting president at yung nagpatawag dito ngayon ay si Secretary Alcusi bilang vice chairman, no? Pati yung executive director diyan parang kumakampi diyan kay Senator Manny Pacquiao, no? Mukhang unang hakbang ito dahil nung nakaraan makikita niyo po nung nakaraang mga linggo ay tuloy-tuloy po yung pagganap ng mga consultation meetings ng PDP Laban sa iba't ibang mga lugar ng ating bansa para pag-usapan na yung mga paghahanda ng PDP Laban para sa susunod na eleksyon. Because definitely PDP Laban will be the majority party, no, sa May 9, 2022 elections. Kaya kinakailangan na habang maaga pa ay makaumpisa sila, no, lalo na po sa pagkilala kung sino yung papatakbuhin nila bilang Pangulo, ay kailangan na may manggagaling ito sa tinatawag na grassroots, no? Yung mga leader ng partido mula po sa iba't ibang bahagi ng bansa na hindi lamang po yung isang tao o ilang tao yung magpapasya kung sino ba ang tatakbo bilang Pangulo, pangalawang Pangulo, o di kaya yung mga senador, no? Para buong buo po ang kanilang gagawin dito na talaga ng mga kandidato nito para sa May 9, 2022 elections. Now, naging mainit po ito, no? Dahil nga sa sinabi ko, si Senator Manny Pacquiao, nung nakaraang ilang linggo ay nagpahayag na gusto niya rin pala ang tumakbo bilang councilor, and in fact, isinumite niya yung pangalan niya doon po sa One Sambayan, no? Nakalimutan niya na siya yung acting president ng PDP Laban. Doon niya binigay yung pangalan niya, tatakbo ako, gusto kong tumakbo doon po sa oposisyon. Kaya nagkaagad-agad nagkaroon ng conflict, no? Kuminsan hindi nag-iisip si idol boxing champion Manny Pacquiao, no, na akala niya opposition siya, doon siya nagsabit, habang siya pala nakalimutan niya na siya po ang Pangulo ng acting president naman, no? Hindi naman siya talaga pinili, but itinalaga siya bilang pinuno ng PDP Laban, no? Kaya siguro nalito lang itong si Manny Pacquiao na akala niya kung gusto niya tumakbo ay doon siya sa kabila, no? Kaya mabuti na rin po at lumabas yung tunay niya na kulay na hindi pala siya totoong Duterte, hindi pala siya sumusuporta sa administrasyon na ito, no? At doon niya itinapon yung kanyang sombrero, yung he threw the hat into the opposition side. Naku, kita nyo kung kulang sa pag-iisip, no? Akala siguro ni Manny Pacquiao dapat oposisyon na sa akin kayo tumingin. Kaya ito po ay nung pinalabas ng Vice Chairman na si Secretary Alcusi na yun nga nagpatawag ng National Council meeting ngayong hapon diyan sa Cebu City. But this will be Zoom, no? Via Zoom po ito, no? At siguro may ilan na physically ay nandoon sa venue diyan sa Cebu City ay kinalaban ito ni Senator Pacquiao. Nagpalabas siya ng memorandum nung nakarang ilang araw na huwag kayong dumalo. Sabi niya, hindi ko ito sanksyon. Wala itong pahintulot mula sa akin, no? Kaya sinabi ni Vice Chairman Secretary Alfonso Cusi na hindi, utos mismo ito ng chairman natin na si Pangulong Duterte. At sinasabi po na under the rules ng PDP Laban ay ang chairman po ang makakapatawag, no? Siya po ang makakapatawag ng isang National Council meeting, no? Kaya mukhang isa sa agenda ngayong hapon ay formally ay alisin na, no? Tanggalin na itong si Senator Manny Pacquiao bilang acting president. Nagpakita siya kaagad-agad na hindi pala siya tapat, no, sa partido ng ating Pangulo, ang partido ng ating administrasyon, no? So makikita niyo po ito mga preparatory slides and mga video clips, no, sa pagpaghanda, no, ng partido, pati na po yung mga unang-unang araw ng PDP Laban. Buhay pa doon, makikita si isang larawan doon, makikita pa si the late si Nene Pimentel, no? At si Tatay Digong yang nung mayor pa si Tatay Digong, no? Kasi malapit na magkaibigan itong si yung yumaong Nene Pimentel, no? Okay, so yun po mga consultative meetings ng nakaraang mga linggo at talaga pong kahit na unti-unti na, step by step po ay binibuild up na, no, ng PDP Laban ang partido kasi kailangan talaga yung matibay ang yung tinatawag na party machinery para patakbuhin, no, ang isang national election. Kasi mabuti si Tatay Digong, overwhelming yung popularity niya nung nakarang election niya, kaya kahit na kulang siya in terms of party machinery ay nagawa pa rin na nanalo ito sa with a very, very wide margin, no? Kahit na may dayaan, ay hindi pa rin nakaya ng mga dilawan na mapapanalo kasi yung manok ng mga dilawan noon ay si dating DILG Secretary, DTI at DOTC Secretary Marojas, naging senador, naging congressman. Okay. So, very exciting ito, no? This will be the start of the fireworks, no? Maaaring tawagin na pag-umpisa na pa ito ng putukan para po sa 2022 elections. Kasi pag matanggal na dito si Manny Pacquiao, ay mahihirapan na siya maka-recover, no? Siguro pag pinilit niyang tumakbo bilang Pangulo, he will not be running under the PDP Laban. Baka nga i-adapt siya ng One Sambayan instead of Leni Robredo kasi mas mataas yung survey in fairness to him. I-compare mo kay Leni Robredo ay mas mataas pa ang survey rating ni Senator Manny Pacquiao. Siyempre naman dahil sa kanyang kasikatan, marami pa rin po mga Pilipino ang naniniwala na he will make a good president, although talaga po kung mabibigyan tayo ng pagkakataon, we will endeavor, no? Sisikapin po natin na maunawaan ng mga kapwa Pilipino na hindi po iyan, no? Wag po nating itaya, no? Wag tayo sumugal diyan. Ay napakalaking peligro po para sa ating bansa. So yan po sa Davao City last March 17, kita nyo, Davao City ng kanilang mga consultative meetings, no, at may mga permahan na mga covenant nila kung ano yung mga pinaninindigan nila. Makikita po sa kaliwa si Transco President, si Undersecretary Melvin Matibag, no, isa sa mga leader din ng partido yan, San Pedro Laguna, last March, no, PDP Laban Laguna, yan, okay. So talaga pong sinisikap na ng PDP Laban na maging katulad sila ng mga malalaking partido. The PDP Laban, actually, matagal na po ito. Panahon pa ni Marcos ay nandyan na yan yung PDP Laban, at masasabi ko na ang PDP Laban mula pa noon ay talagang yung may prinsipyo, no? May platform na napakaganda po, kaya marami rin po, kaya kahit na hindi po marami ang mga nananalo sa matataas na posisyon ay tawag dito ay patuloy po, no, na nagiging mataas po ang respeto ng taong bayan dito sa PDP Laban. So sa mga bagong pasok po dito sa ating live coverage, so siguro iilan na tayo. May Rappler, may nakita ko Rappler at iba pa mga mainstream media na may live coverage sila. Tayo po at least dito po magbibigay tayo ng ating commentary, no? Magbibigay ito ng mga background kung ano po ang dapat natin malaman tungkol dito sa ginagawa ng PDP Laban. Now, isa po sa talagang medyo nagbigay ng insecurity kay Senator Manny Pacquiao ay nung nagpalabas ang PDP Laban ng manifesto o resolution na hinihikayat si Pangulong Duterte na tumakbo bilang pangalawang Pangulo ng Pilipinas sa susunod na eleksyon. At ito pong panawagan ay parang yung isang apoy, no? Parang apoy ito po na kumakalat, no? Yung parang apoy sa gubat, no? Nag-umpisa sa napakaliit na apoy pero hindi po tatagal at kumakalat na ito na hindi na po mapipigilan ang apoy na yan, na may panawagan po kay Pangulong Duterte na tumakbo bilang pangalawang Pangulo. Now, may mga tanong, no? Kung si Pangulong Duterte tatakbo bilang Vice President, siguro hindi siguro tatakbo si Inday Sara Duterte. Mari kaya na si BBM ang magiging Pangulo at si President Duterte ang tatakbo bilang Vice President. Kasi nakikita na po ngayon na pag nandyan po si Tatay Digong, naku, parang nadagdagan, no, ng times 100, no, yung lakas ng kandidatong yan. At yun nga, may mga opinion na pag magsama nga si Inday Sara at si BBM, naku, unbeatable talaga yan, no? Kita naman natin na ang mga kalaban ay hindi po nakakakuha ng kahit 10%, no? So naghanda na yata sila na mag-umpisa. So pakinggan po natin ang proceedings ng National Council meeting.
National anthem while it's being played on video. Ladies and gentlemen, the Philippine national anthem.
kalingat pang-unawa, mangyari ang iyong diwa sa langit at sa lupa.
Yang kay takal lang ng babaya, diyan ko sa ngalipupuduan ko, nadidakim gaya lugay kimitang yang barug. Dalam bago si balya niya tawag si danginan. Napagtanaw-tanawin mo, pagsiring-siringin mo yan yung mga dato binukaw. Mga biya kaubayan na mababay maging kudya matapid mga atang. Sansirid luwang nangabat lusgod ng binunsali. Yan kay kaungat ko yan, yung kabayaw ko. Pagpanguyab-kuyaban mo, pagpamayad-payadan mo, ng pinandang pinagalyo, pwedeng dinagansuli. Kahit tagal lang, ikaw yung mapigam ka namin, walay pagkaudsan, walay pagkawasan. Panganam mo sa ngungay, patpid mo sa barantak ng pwedeng mo, wangay ng marigang mo. Yan, kahit tagal lang, naga untong sa amatkan mo, ng kaliko ng bibitang mong babawin ng dunya, o yung kanamin pagbiginawa. Tagal lang ang latso kanamin, inaagis ang anak mo na panisa, nagatag ng hawanan ng kutsang katiwayan.
Allahumma innaka tara anna hadhihi al-qulub qad istama'at ala mahabbatik wattaqat ala hadhihi al-makan imanik wa tawahhadat ala da'awatik فوسك ربيطاتها يا الله وأتم أدها واملأها بنورك الذي لا يخفو واسرح صدورنا بفائد الإيمان بك وجميل توكل عليك واهدنا سبل الوحدة والسلام والصلاح ربنا آتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقنا عذاب النار يا الله أنت مستجاب لهذا الدعاء وعليك توكلنا وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين آمين الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر.
Mahabagin naming Ama, Ikaw ang aming sandigan at lakas. Ikaw ang kaligtasan ng aming katawan at kaluluwa. Naway takpan mo po kami ng iyong mapagkalingang kamay upang mayadyak kami sa mga pahirap at karamdaman. At sa lahat ng masama, dala ng makabagong mundo, hinihingi po namin na sana'y ilayo po ninyo ang mahal naming lungsod ng Tagum sa mga mapinsalang kalamidad at sakuna. Mahal naming Panginoon, Ikaw ang aming proteksyon at gabay. Sa oras ng pasakit at pangamba, bigyan niyo po kami ng sapat na lakas upang aming mapagtagumpayan ang lahat ng pagsubok sa aming buhay sa pangalan ni Jesus. Amen.
In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. God, our loving Father, Creator of heaven and earth, we thank you for your generosity and kindness, and ask that you hear us in times of needs. Make us worthy of your blessing and keep us from further want. Help us restore our abundance here on earth so that we may turn more attention to your divine kingdom. Help us become a blessing to our family and others to glorify and honor your name. We ask this to our Lord Jesus Christ, your Son, who lives and reigns with you in the unity of the Holy Spirit, one God, forever and ever. Amen. In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Iadya niyo kami sa pagmamataas.
Okay, so yun po ay napanood po natin at napakinggan yung ecumenical prayer, no? May Muslim, may Kristiyano, may Katoliko, no? Bilang pagpapakita po na nagkakaisa ang ating mga taong bayan para po sa ating bansa, para sa ating gobyerno. So gusto ko lang ulitin po, no, na na napakalaki po ang bigat ng pagtatagpo o pagtitipon niyan sa Cebu City, yung National Council meeting ng PDP Laban ay dahil parang many people are expecting na dito po ay papaalisin bilang acting president si Senator Manny Pacquiao at magbibigay din po ng mga pahayag diyan, may mga congressmen diyan, mga tauhan o mga kaalyado ni Speaker Lord Alan Velasco ay inaasahan po na dadalo rin po sa pagtitipon na ito sa Cebu City po, no, ang venue nito, no. Okay.
Now, may I call on Mayor Cortez of Mandawi City to please lead the recitation of the PDP Laban Creed. Please raise your left hand and follow Mayor Cortez. I commit myself to a peaceful and democratic way of life, ensure the establishment and maintenance
society
of a Filipino society
characterized by freedom, solidarity,
justice,
equity, social responsibility, self-reliance, efficiency, enlightened nationalism under a federal system of government. Myself,
I
I further commit myself
to the five principles
to the five principles:
humanism,
enlightened nationalism,
enlightened
Kung napansin niyo po ay nabanggit po doon sa credo, no, ng PDP Laban yung paniniwala nito na dapat po o kinakailangan yung tinatawag na federalism as a form of government para sa bansang Pilipinas.
Here from no less than the governor of Cebu Province, Governor Gwen Garcia, for her welcome remarks.
Si Governor Gwen Garcia ng Cebu. Walang sound, no? Walang sound. Parang may technical problem po, no? Pero nagsasalita po ngayon, siguro binabati ni Governor Gwen Garcia ng Cebu, yung lahat po na dumulog dyan, yung physical at pati na rin po yung nasa Zoom sa titipo na yan ng PDP Laban. So, makikita nyo po with Governor Gwen Garcia dyan ng Cebu ay masasabi na rin po natin na malakas ang PDP Laban yan po sa lalawigan ng Cebu.
Us decided to throw our lot in with a man who espoused the advocacies that we believed in: anti-drugs, anti-criminality, anti-corruption, and above all, federalism. He was then a mayor of a major city in Mindanao, and he was supported by the PDP. Well, we rallied behind his candidacy for president. We believed in him, and so did 16 million other Filipinos. The rest was history. Mayor Digong became President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. And how Cebu delivered with a margin of 1.2 million votes over his closest rival. Because that is how Cebu delivers. When they believe in a man, when they believe in his cause. 3 years later, in 2019, we gathered with a growing crescendo, a much bigger group that joined the PDP and ran for each of our respective positions. Here in Cebu, in this island of Cebu, we swept the gubernatorial race, including the provincial board members race, and we swept the 3 important tri-cities in Cebu: Mandaue, Lapu-Lapu, and Cebu City. This afternoon, we are gathered here once more in this huge assembly of PDP leaders to take stock of where we are and to define the direction by which PDP and Cebu will be going, especially since there's a looming 2022 presidential election. As governor of the province of Cebu, I thank the national leadership for choosing Cebu to be the venue of this all-important gathering. Truly, by so doing, you have underscored the importance of Cebu in the coming national elections.
Okay, so may nagtanong diyan kanina bakit Cebu, no? So siguro yan ang sagot kung bakit Cebu po ang pinili na yung venue o lugar kung saan ginaganap itong National Council meeting dahil ang Cebu pala ang pinakamalaking lamang na ibinigay kay Tatay Digong noong nakarang 2016 elections. 1.2 million votes yung lamang niya sa pinakamalapit na kalaban. I don't know kung sino number 2 dyan sa Cebu. It could be Marojas or Grace po, no? Pero at least klaro po, no, ng Cebu pala ay talaga solid to solid kay Tatay Digong. Siguro ito rin ang dahilan na sa ngayon po nakikita natin ay ba ang daming mga malalaking proyekto diyan sa Cebu, no? Yung mga bagong tulay, mga bagong highway na talaga pong pinapalakas yung development diyan ng Cebu. Okay.
Garcia, for that wonderful welcome remarks.
Balik po tayo sa meeting
Itself, in the case of PDP Laban, history repeats itself not once, twice, thrice. I remember that the very first major meeting of PDP Laban, sometimes in the early 1980s, was held here in Cebu. And as Governor Gwen Garcia has mentioned, Cebu delivered the biggest votes for Mayor Digong and became President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Again, please render a round of applause to our Cebuanos under the leadership of Governor Gwen Garcia. Now let's go to the meeting proper of the National Council. But before, I'm going to ask our Vice Chairman to present.
By the way, no, sa mga hindi pa po nakapag-thumbs up dyan, request ko na po na mag-thumbs up ngayon para makatulong po ito na ikalat yung live coverage natin dito po sa PDP Laban National Council meeting, no, para sabay-sabay po tayo manood at malaman natin kung ano yung mga nangyayari dyan.
Letter C, Section 2, Paragraph 5, up to Section 10. You can see there the different provisions of the Philippine Constitution governing the operation, administration, and management of political parties. Political parties remain accountable to the people. Leaders and members of political parties can be held accountable, even criminally liable, if they violate our election laws and our constitution. It is for this reason that's why we are calling this National Council meeting in order that we can make PDP Laban really an accountable political party and helping service our nation. And for this, may I now call on the Vice Chairman of PDP Laban, the energetic Energy Secretary Alfonso Cuse, to call the meeting of the National Council to order.
Thank you, Secretary Lambino, our designated MC for today's meeting. And I would like to also to thank Governor Gwen for her welcome remarks and welcoming us in this city of Cebu, the beautiful city of Cebu. And to my fellow cabinet members, Secretary Nograles and Secretary Dino, for joining me at this meeting. And of course, at the chairman's table, we have also Mayor Cortez. So, okay, so I call this meeting now to order. And before we proceed, I just want to say that by the authority of the chairman under Article 16, Section 4 in relation to Section 5 of the PDP Laban Constitution, I call this meeting to order at 1:58 this afternoon, May 31, 2021. If any member wishes to examine the authority delegated to me, please proceed to the Secretariat to verify the documents. And before we proceed, may I ask the Secretariat to confirm and make a roll call of the quorum. Secretariat, please.
May we call Attorney Melvin Matibag, the Deputy Secretary General of PDP Laban, to please call the roll.
Magro-roll call ngayon para po malaman kung sino yung mga nandyan, no? So si Attorney Melvin Matibag, Undersecretary po yan sa Department of Energy at President of the Transco, no? Okay, pakinggan po natin.
Secretary Carlo Nograles, Secretary Michael Dino, Governor Gwen Garcia, Secretary Franklin Quijano, Undersecretary Astrabel Naik, Chairman of Membership Committee, Alonso Saclag from Car Region, Secgen de la Serna, Congressman Lollipop Juanyo is present, Mayor Junar Ahong, Mayor Jonas Cortez, and Secretary Lambino is present, DG Plaza is present, and in Zoom, the Secretary present are Secretary Carlos Dominguez, Secretary Wendell Abisado, MMDA Chair Benhar Abalos, Pastor Greco Butch Belica, Chairperson Greco Belica, and Undersecretary Alvin Feliciano. Out of 39 governors, we have 22 governors present in Zoom. There are Governor Nancy Catamco of Cotabato, Governor Dale Domingo Corbera of Agusan del Norte, Governor Art Defensor of Iloilo, Governor Imelda de Maporo of Lanao del Norte, Governor Bons Dolor of Oriental.
Nagulat ako doon PDP laban na pala si Governor Arthur Toto Defensor Jr. ng Iloilo, no? At nakikita ko rin po sa Zoom screen si Congressman Lawrence Defensor ay lumipat na pala, no? Ay dati ano yun yung partido ni Abnoy, yung sa Liberal Party, no? So lumipat na pala si Governor Toto Defensor sa PDP Laban. Okay.
Governor Francisco Ortega of La Union, Governor Wilter Palma of Zamboanga Sibugay, Governor Domingo Pitilla of Leyte, Governor Jose Riano of Romblon, Governor Edgar Tallado of Camarines Norte, Governor Tuban of Kalinga, Governor Roberto Uy of Zamboanga del Norte, Governor Presbiterio Velasco of Marinduque, Governor Saldi Villa of Siquijor, Governor Victor Yu of Zamboanga del Sur. Out of 39 governors, we have 22 governors present in Zoom, and of course, Governor Gwen Garcia is physically present. Governor Arthur Yap is also on his way to attend physically. Congressman, we have 57 congressman members present physically is Governor.
So out of 39 governors na members ng PDP Laban ay 22 plus kay Governor Gwen Garcia, si Governor Arthur Yap ng Bohol yata, no, ay papunta na rin daw.
Congresswoman Maria P. Abunda of Eastern Samar is present. Congresswoman Lenlen Alonte of Binyan City is present. Congresswoman Baby Arenas of the 3rd District of Pangasinan is present. Congresswoman Sherilyn Banyas Nograles of South Cotabato, Congressman Jose Francisco Benitez of Negros Occidental, Congressman Rupi Biason of Muntinlupa, Congressman Rimpi Bontoc of the 4th District of Pampanga, Congressman Antonio Calixto of Pasay, Congressman Kari, Congressman Juni Cuwa of Quirino. Forgot to mention Governor Dax Cuwa is also present, and Congressman Tonico of Masbate. Congressman Lawrence Defensor of Iloilo is present. Congressman Khalid de Maporo of Lanao del Norte 1st District. Congressman Faustino Nino D of the 5th District of Isabela. Congressman Junmel Espino of Pangasinan. Congresswoman Ria Pariñas of Ilocos Norte, Congressman Joyet Garcia of Bataan, Congresswoman Lucy Torres of the 4th District of Leyte, Congressman Ferdinand Hernandez of South Cotabato, 2nd District, Congresswoman Dulce Ann Hoffer of Zamboanga Sibugay, 2nd District, Congresswoman Elisa Co of Masbate, 2nd District, Congressman Wilton Co of the 3rd District of Masbate, Congresswoman Donna Labad-Labad, Zamboanga del Norte, 2nd District. Congressman Jojo Lara of Cagayan, 3rd District. Congressman Del Malapitan of the 1st District of Caloocan. Congresswoman Ruth Mariano Hernandez. Congressman Eric Martinez of Valenzuela is one of the original PDP in the 2016 election. Congresswoman Maria Angelica Matba of Agusan del Norte, Congresswoman Lucille Nava, Congressman Eric Olivares of Parañaque, Congressman Rogelio Pacquiao of Sarangani is present, Congresswoman Marisol Panotes of Camarines Norte, 2nd District, Congressman Johnny Pimentel, Surigao del Norte, 2nd District, Congressman Sakdalan of North Cotabato, Congressman Joey Salceda of the 2nd District of Albay, Congressman Datu Sinsuat, 2nd District Maguindanao, Congressman Bong Sontay of the 4th District of Quezon City, Congresswoman Josepina Tallado, Camarines Norte, Congressman Arnie Tebes, Negros Oriental, 3rd District, Congressman Abraham Tolentino, 8th District of Cavite, Congressman Alfred Vargas of Quezon City, 5th District, Congresswoman Rhea Vergara of Nueva Ecija, 3rd District, Congressman Henry Villarica, Bulacan, 2nd District, Congresswoman Divina Grace Yu of Zamboanga del Sur, and Congressman Ronnie Zamora of San Juan City.
Nakikita po natin na sa mga congressmen who are incumbent congressmen, eh, napakarami nila, no, na kasapi ngayon, at nandito po, no, kikita natin yung mga mukha nila na present sila sa virtual Zoom meeting ng National Council ng PDP Laban. Eh nako, sa ganitong turnout po, nako, na wala pong kaduda-duda na talagang times 100 or times 1,000 yung yung paglakas, no, ang nagdagdagan yung kalakas ng PDP Laban, na hindi nga ito katulad ng 2016 na noon po mas mahina, ngayon mas malakas. Kaya talagang lalo na pag mangyari yung haka-haka, no, yung marami mga PDP Laban na tinutulak na si Tatay Digong ay kailangan tumakbo bilang Vice President para masiguro lang, no, na may patuloy yung mga naumpisa niya sa kanyang, maglilimang taon pa lang siya, yung kung ano po naumpisa niya ay tuloy-tuloy na po, lalo na yung ipinangako niya noon na lilipat na tayo sa isang federal system form of government. Kasi talaga po sa ganitong sistema, nakikita natin na 159 members.
Is 107, Mr. Chairman. We have a quorum. We only need 63 to compose a quorum, Mr. Chairman. So we have that. We can proceed with our meeting today. Oh, I was just informed. Just entered the Zoom is Senator Bato de la Rosa and Senator Tolentino. So kompleto na po tayo. Represented po lahat, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Thank you,
Mr. Chair,
Secretary.
I'm sorry. I think Governor Sakurtan is calling because he just also entered the Zoom meeting. So Governor Sakurtan is also present. So may mga pumapasok pa po, Mr. Chair. But just the same, we have reached the quorum.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Secretariat. In accordance to our Constitution, we only need 40%, and obviously we are more than that. So with the confirmation of the quorum, we now proceed with the meeting. Now, at this point, just to facilitate and to put order in our meeting, I would like to appoint Secretary Raul Ampino, the Vice President for International Affairs and members of the National Council, as our moderator.
Interrupt lang ako ng sandali, no? Yung hindi po nakapag-thumbs up, paki-thumbs up na po ngayon.
I hear none. So, Mr. Secretary Lambino, you're now the designated and appointed moderator for this meeting.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Thank you for accepting it. And Mr. Moderator, can we please proceed with the reading of the meeting's agenda?
There are 5 main topics in the proposed agenda in today's PDP Laban National Council meeting. First is the chairman's address by no less than our President Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Second, again, coming from President Duterte, the chairman's report on programs promoted and implemented during his incumbency as President of the Philippines. Third is consultation with incumbent elected members from the local government units all over the country on the management of COVID-19 transmissions. And we are going to have here Secretary Nograles and in virtual participation of Chairman Benhar Abalos, and also some of the documents that were gathered from all over the country, manifesto of support for this particular subject. Fourth are administrative matters in preparation for the 2022 national elections. And lastly, other matters for discussion. I so move, Mr. Chairman, that we adopt this agenda, and I think Governor Ibardone, who is now in Zoom meeting, would like to say a few words regarding the 5 agenda for discussion, Mr. Chairman. So if Governor Ibardone is around, may we hear a few words from you, sir.
Okay, Governor Ibardone is acknowledged by Zoom.
Si Governor Ibardone is from Eastern Samar, no? At kasama ko yan dati sa isang journalist dito, si Governor
Thank you, Sir
Ibardone.
Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, party mates. I would like to congratulate the leadership of the party for calling this meeting in accordance with our constitution. And then I would like to formally move, Mr. Chairman, for the adoption of the agenda for today's National Council meeting, since we have a quorum, Mr. Chairman, and we have convened this meeting in accordance with our constitution, Mr. Chairman. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. There is a motion to approve the agenda, adopt and approve the agenda. May I call on Undersecretary Naik, who wants to say something about the agenda?
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
Secretary Sabil Naik.
Point of order, Mr. Chairman.
Yes, any second motion? Do I hear any second
Mr.
motion?
Chairman, I'm raising a point of order.
Move and seconded. Any
Mr.
objection?
Chairman, I am raising a point of order.
Agenda is adopted for today. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chairman, I'm raising a point of order.
At
According to
this point,
parliamentary procedures, I should be recognized
okay, at this point,
as
I
it is a
just want
priority
to
motion.
make some clarification, just for the record. Just for
Point
the
of
record,
order, Mr. Chairman.
council meeting to be convened
Point
since
of order, Mr.
President
Chairman.
Duterte was elected as national chairman of the
Mr.
party.
Chairman, I am raising a point
By
of order.
our moderator, did you know that the first PDP Laban National Convention was held here in Cebu?
Mr. Chairman, point of order.
So what we are really doing here is very historical. For this meeting, we will examine what we have accomplished and what needs to be done. The pandemic shall also be addressed, where National Council members or cabinet officials will report on the ongoing management of this COVID-19. This meeting is for the specific purpose of giving directions and shall also serve as a preparation for the party to comply with the recent COMELEC resolutions relevant to the conduct of the 2022 national elections, which will be discussed.
Mr. Chairman, I am raising.
So
Why are you muting me
Point.
when I am raising a point
at
of
this
order?
point, yes, Mr. Moderator. Mr. Chairman, there is a point of order being raised by Congressman Teves of Negros Oriental. May I ask the chairman to recognize
Yes, okay.
Congressman Teves
Congressman
for his point of order?
Teves is hereby recognized.
Congressman Teves?
Mr. Chairman, kanina pa ako nag-raise ng point of order, minumute ako. Hindi dapat ganun because we should follow parliamentary procedure. Bago pa tayo nag-roll call, I was already raising a point of order and I pressed the raise hand setting in the Zoom app. Anyways, now that I am recognized, good afternoon everybody. Good afternoon, sirs. Especially Sir Alcusi, who is a very good friend of me and my father. Meron lang akong question. I feel very disappointed. I am even angered. And I feel taken for granted for being bypassed. Because Section 60, Article 16, Section 6 says that the Secretary General shall serve written notice. I am the Secretary General of the PDP Laban Party. Buhay pa ako, hindi naman ako incapacitated, hindi ko maintindihan bakit hindi ako ang pinapirma sa sulat kung hindi ang kaibigan nating si Melvin. On that note, Mr. Chairman, meron pang isa dito. Article 16, Section 4. That the chairman of the National Council shall have the following functions. One is to coordinate with the president on the agenda of the National Council meetings. I don't think there was prior coordination with the president of the party. On that note, Mr. Chairman, I move that in the meantime, this meeting be adjourned.
Mr. Chairman, may I to the issue raised?
I object, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah.
I object, Mr. Chairman, because I think
So medyo nagkakagulo na. Mukhang kakampi ito si Congressman Arnie Tevez ni Senator Manny Pacquiao, no? So ini-invoke niya na dahil siya ang Secretary General, eh dapat siya daw yung pumirma ng notice o yung pagpatawag ng meeting na ito, no? Hinikayat niya na sabi niya dapat i-cancel, no, o itigil muna niya ang meeting, no. So ito po si Governor Ben Evardone.
Chairman.
Yeah, thank you.
And I also believe that the Vice Chairman has coordinated with the acting President in accordance with the rules, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Governor Bardone. Congressman Tevez, regarding your query, the provision of the PDP Laban Constitution so speak that only the National Assembly can elect national party officers, which includes the position of Secretary General of the party. Since the resignation of then Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez as the Secretary General of the party, that position has remained vacant. The only authority that can appoint or elect party national party officials would be the National Assembly. And therefore, as far as the position of the PDP Laban National Council is concerned, that position remains vacant up to now. And given the fact that Deputy Secretary General Melvin Matibag is now the current Deputy Secretary General with his appointment duly signed as of 2016, then the Deputy Secretary General Matibag is the one recognized to continue functioning as Secretary General of the party, absence the election of...
Oh, yan. So, nagkakagulo-gulo rin sila sa parliamentary procedure, no? Itong si Congressman Arnie Tevez pala ay hindi naman siya yung Secretary General, dahil parang itinalaga lang siya doon because sabi ni Secretary Raul Lambino na yung National Assembly ng PDP Laban ang may kapangyarihan na pumili o mag-elect ng Secretary General. Eh dahil nag-resign si dating Speaker Pantaleon Alvarez bilang Speaker, ay bakante. Bakante na, hindi siya yung Secretary General. So wala siyang karapatan na mag-question ngayon yung sinasabi niya na dapat siya yung pumirma ng tawag dito ng pagpatawag or notice of meeting, no? Eh mukhang talagang sinisikap ng grupo ni Manny Pacquiao na guluhin, no? Guluhin ito na kahit na ipinapaliwanag na mismo si Pangulong Duterte ang nagbigay ng utos kay Deputy Chairman Aalisin, no? Ng Department of Energy. Okay.
As have been called, the meeting is in order and we shall proceed.
I have another point of order, Mr. Chairman.
At this point, before proceeding, I would like the Secretariat to please, considering that our chairman, President Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte, cannot join us physically, I would like to ask the Secretariat to please play the message of our chairman, President Duterte, to the body. Secretariat, please.
Over the years, the PDP Laban has revolutionized our country's political landscape by pursuing genuine reforms and good governance in both the national and local levels. I thus urge all my party mates for staying true to the party's mission, which has always been to prioritize the welfare of our people. As we continue to overcome the COVID-19 pandemic, may we continue to work together in pursuing for initiatives that will strengthen our gains in good governance, especially those that will foster lasting peace and progress for our nation. Again, I call on all of my party mates to stand together and remain united, not by personal interest, but by our principles and values as we chart the future of our party and the rest of the nation. Congratulations at mabuhay ang PDP Laban. Over the years, the PDP Laban.
Okay, so yun po ang maiksing mensahe ni Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte bilang chairman ng PDP Laban. So malinaw po na talagang sa kanyang utos ang pagpatawag ng National Council meeting na ito. No? So itong si Congressman Arnie Tevez ay gusto na talaga guluhin ang takbo ng meeting nito at hindi po matuloy. No? Okay, so sa mga hindi pa po nakapag-thumbs up dyan ay kumari po, mag-thumbs up din po kayo para po, kasi almost 900 na po yung nanonood ngayon, dahil po yan sa napakalaki rin yung, o napakarami rin yung mga nag-thumbs up, kaya nakakatulong talaga ito na ikalat yung video natin. No? So maganda po itong papanood natin na live coverage sa PDP Laban National Council meeting. Balik po tayo doon.
Objection that was raised earlier by Congressman Arnie Tevez. First of all, as membership committee chairman, I would like to manifest that the National Council has never been in receipt of any appointment regarding Congressman Arnie Tevez being the Secretary General. So there is no record in the National Council of him being the Secretary General. And then, Mr. Chairman, considering the explanation pronounced by our moderator to safeguard the interest of the party and its members and to ensure the unhampered preparations to the 2022 national elections, I move that the National Council authorize the duly appointed Deputy Secretary General Melvin Batibag, whose appointments was signed by the President himself, our party chairman, the former President of the PDP Laban, Senator Aquilino Coco Pimentel, and the former Secretary General, Congressman Pantaleon Alvarez.
Yun ay tuloy na sipa pa si Congressman Arnie Tevez kasi ang gulo-gulo Gusto pang magpalaki ng papel, no? So, yun ay talagang kinilala na si Deputy Secretary General Attorney Melvin Matibag na siya na po ang hahawak ng pwesto as acting Secretary General.
Mr. Chair.
There being a motion from Undersecretary Astravel Naik, and there are several members of the council who have seconded it here on the floor. Do we hear anybody from those participating in the virtual meeting of the National Council meeting? A second to the motion of Undersecretary Astravel Naik. Again, the motion of the Undersecretary Naik is that for Deputy Secretary General Attorney Melvin Matibag be now appointed as interim Secretary General who shall function as Secretary General pending the election of a permanent Secretary General in the National Assembly to be held later on.
Second the motion. Second the motion.
Here, the good Finance Secretary Dominguez seconding the motion. I also heard the good Budget Secretary seconding the motion.
There is the motion properly seconded. Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. And we have now an acting second in the person of Attorney Melvin Matibag.
At this juncture, Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
may I move for 1 minute suspension to allow our acting Deputy Secretary General to occupy the presidential table?
Yes, that's
Mr.
what I was about to say. To help me in this meeting, I would request the acting second to occupy a seat here at the chairman's table. And also, I'd like to acknowledge the presence of Governor of Bohol, just in our shop. Good afternoon. 1 minute suspension.
1 minute suspension for Attorney Matibag to occupy the.
Okay, so medyo huminto muna ng sandali ang takbo ng meeting na ito para po mabigyan si Attorney Melvin Matibag na makapwesto, no, at mag-assume na ng kanyang katungkulan bilang interim Secretary General habang wala pa pong napipili. Yun, napahiya tuloy si Congressman Arnie Tevez. Wala pala siyang appointment, wala siyang record, no? So interim o acting Secretary General Matibag, no? Congratulations kay kaibigan natin Attorney Matibag.
Second is with us here to support, to help me in this meeting. Let's proceed with the proceeding. And at this point, the moderator, the chairman's report this.
Yeah, the next item of the agenda, Mr. Chairman. May we hear from Acting Secretary General Melvin Matibag for his.
Mr. Chair, before we proceed with the next item, I would just like to recognize additional members of the National Committee who just came in from Zoom.
Please
Governor,
proceed.
yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Governor Matugas is also present in Zoom. Of course, our Deputy Sec-Gen for NCR, Norman Polencio, Congressman Don Gonzales, Congresswoman Rida Robes, DILG Undersecretary Martin Dino, former Congressman Rodolfo Parinas is present also. Region 4 President Mr. Efren Hinwino is present. Governor Jose Alvarez of Palawan is present also. Mario Espinosa of Region 5 is present. Deputy Commissioner Tobias Xavier is also in attendance. Ms. Marjorie Jaramilla is also in attendance. Mr. Emmanuel Lumanaw, President of Region 13 is present. And Ines de la Serna of Region 7 is likewise present, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Chairman, ako rin.
Yes, please.
Sec-Gen,
I'm sorry. Governor
Congressman Almario, 2nd District, Davao Oriental.
Davao also.
Mario, yes.
Sorry, Congressman.
Present. Thank you.
If you miss anybody, those people on attending via Zoom, if you're not recognized, just please let us know.
Mr. Chair, also I have to acknowledge the presence of PDP Laban mayors from the province of Cebu and likewise all the elected officers of Cebu who is in support of this meeting, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
And also the City Council of Cebu City, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. And you're all welcome to.
Sir.
Mr. Moderator. Mr. Chairman, at this juncture, we'll proceed to the next item of the agenda, which is the report of our party chairman, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, on the various programs promoted and implemented during his incumbency as President of the Republic of the Philippines. Let's watch and listen via video presentation, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so babalik po sa kay Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte bilang party chairman, no? Tungkol sa mga nagawa na niya sa loob po ng 5 taon na bilang Pangulo ng Republika ng Pilipinas. So, Chairman's Report 2021, no? O ito po, no? So, sa hindi pa po nakapag-thumbs up, po, no? Please click thumbs up.
mata sa problema ang dumarating at lumalagpas. Buksan mo iyong isipan sa pagkukulang ng nakaraan mong nakalipas.
Lahat ng gusto ko pwede kong magawa pagdating doon sa Cebu. Wala akong mali na nakikita. Hindi ko na malaya na nagustuhan ko na pala.
Ang ng sarili at kumapit ka lang, bahon kang muli at ipagpatuloy mo lang.
Nag-decide po ako na iparehab niyo po ako. Daan-daan, unti-unti ko pong na-realize yung sarili ko na talagang siguro ito na yung time na kailangan ko na magbago.
Ikaw ang may hawak ng iyong kabalaran.
The president has taken, the infrastructure improvement through the Build program rightly, which we are seeing, like the new airport development and airport development in other regions, not just in Cebu, but in Bohol and many other places. In the last 3 to 4 years, the traffic at the airport has grown. There are a lot of efforts by the government to improve the tourism. We contributed to that by improving the connectivity to the airport. So I just, around 4 or 5 years back, we had around 7 international destinations connected to Cebu Airport. We have around 22 international destinations connected to the airport. So that helped in increase in the number of tourist arrival, which in turn helps in generating employment in the region.
Nabigyan po ako ng trabaho dahil po sa pagtayo ng Terminal 2. Yung nagsimula yung operation, na-hire po ako. Marami pong natulungan, hindi lang ako, kundi maraming tao po. Correct po yung sinabi ni Pangulo na nakatulong po yung mga project niya. Ito po is design talaga ng mga Pilipino, made of wood. Napaka maganda yung quality ng wood, maganda yung quality ng mga structure dito.
So, yan po ang Mactan Cebu International Airport.
Yes, airport destination. Kasi lahat naka-smile po yung lahat ng tao. Marami po tayong mga stores na pwede mabilhan. Parang mall na rin po eh.
Gusto ko kasing magtrabaho din dito balik sa airport eh. Kasi alam ko yung atmosphere dito is iba sa mga malls po sa labas. Nagkaroon ako ng maraming opportunity na makilala yung iba't ibang klase ng tao. Para nalaman ko rin yung mga iba't ibang kultura nila. Nung nagbukas ito, maraming mga stores din na nag-open dito. Kaya maraming tao yung nagkaroon ng trabaho dahil dito. Nakaka-proud po talaga kasi yun nga, sabi nila para pong nasa ibang lugar po na airport itong Cebu. Kaya masaya.
Noong Agosto 2017, pinirmahan ng Presidente yung RA 10931. So mula June ng 2018, lumawak yung saklaw nito. Libreng tuition, libreng miscellaneous fees, at lumawak din yung mga makikinabang na estudyante. Dati 112 state universities and colleges lang. Dinagdagan natin ng 78 local universities and colleges.
Kung hindi po dahil sa free tuition law, hindi ko po alam kung makakagraduate pa talaga ako dahil sa dami po ng mga babayaran namin, sa dami ng gastos.
Yung thought na may babayaran pa akong tuition, wala na po. So, mas nakatulong po yun sa buhay ng isang estudyante.
Pinasok din yung konsepto ng tertiary education subsidy. Ito ay dagdag na ayuda para sa mga estudyanteng nangangailangan.
Nung nalaman ko po na naging part po ako ng tertiary education subsidy, napakalaking tulong po sa akin. Dahil nga po sa kakapusan ng pera, ako lang po yung nakapagtapos ng kolehiyo. Unexpected dumating po yung TES or tertiary education subsidy nung 4th year. Mas nag-focus po ako sa pag-aaral ko. Wala na po akong iisipin na, ay, kailangan kong bumangon ng maaga para magtrabaho.
We will produce a Filipino workforce that is better educated, better trained, and highly employable.
maraming salamat po na naging isa po ako sa scholars ninyo at nililook forward ko po na marami pa pong mga estudyante ang matutulungan ninyo. Maraming salamat po at more power.
First time na yung law na ipinasa was really celebrated by the entire Bangsamoro people.
Allahu Akbar,
we are all supporting the leadership. Ito lang ang alam namin na pag-asa namin na ma-achieve yung tunay na kapayapaan dito. Kumbaga sa ito ang hope lang namin.
So, education ang unang-unang priority namin. Kasi nakikita namin, especially the youth, ay hindi nakapag-aral dahil sa conflict, more than 40 years na conflict, maraming hindi nakapag-aral.
Comfortable na kami sa hindi katulad noon na parang palagi lang kami nag-worried na yung lugar namin magulo dito, magulo doon. Matagal na namin hinahangad itong pagpirma ng DOL para nasa kapayapaan po kami para yung mga anak namin makapag-aral ng husto dahil yung dati hindi sila makapag-aral dahil sa magulo.
Siguro kung hindi naging presidente si President Duterte, mahirap pa rin na ma-attain. Pero dahil doon sa very consistent talaga na pag-push niya sa implementation ng agreement, so yun ang naging susi para ma-implement ito.
Universal healthcare law mandates that every Filipino must have an equitable access to quality healthcare services at the time of need without incurring financial risks. Maraming mabebenepisyohan sa UHC law. Una-una, ang mga pasyente, lalo na ang mga mahihirap, ay makakasiguro sila na magkakaroon sila ng mga pangunahing serbisyong pangkalusugan. Pangalawa, yung ating mga healthcare facilities ay makatatanggap sila ng financing para sa mga serbisyo na kanilang pamamalas sa ating mga kababayan. Pangatlo, ang mga doktor.
So, yan po, no? Bawat departamento ay nagbibigay ng mga ulat nila tungkol sa mga, kung ano yung mga major accomplishments. At sa ngayon ay si DOH Secretary Francisco Duque, yan sa no balance billing para po sa mga na-ospital, no? So, nakita na po natin, no, sa mga huling pasok po ay kakatanggal lang itong si Congressman Arnie Teves ng Negros Oriental. Kasi sa umpisa po ay gusto pang magpasikat at gustong i-discarrel, no? Patigilin yung takbo ng meeting na ito ng National Council ng PDP Laban dahil sabi niya hindi nasusunod yung constitution ng partidong ito, no? Pero napakita po na hindi naman pala siya yung nakaupo, hindi naman pala siya legal na nasalaga bilang Secretary General. Kaya tuloy, natanggal. Napahiya pa siya, imagine, sa buong mundo, no? Because some of you are watching from abroad. Kaya ito po ay makikita natin yung pagsikap ng grupo ni Pacquiao na maliskarel ito at hindi matuloy ang kung ano man ang agenda, no? Hindi naman natin nakikita kung talagang kasama diyan sa agenda na tatanggalin na si Manny Pacquiao bilang acting chairman. Pero katulad ng nasabi ko sa umpisa pa lang, ay nagka-blunder, no? Itong si Senator Manny Pacquiao kasi nung sinabi ng One Sambayan na naghahanap sila ng kandidato sa pagkapangulo, nakalimutan ni Senator Manny Pacquiao ay siya pala yung acting president ng PDP Laban na partido din ni Pangulong Duterte. So ibig sabihin ay balak pala niyang kontrahin ang kung sino man ang mapipili ng partido na siya mismo ang acting president. Kaya nabagsak po siya doon, knockout po doon si Senator Manny Pacquiao. Kaya tuloy yan, mga kasama niya ay unti-unti na po na nililinis. Baka dumating tayo sa punto na pati na din po siya ay iwawalisin na palabas. Hindi natin alam, no? Basta yun po ang mga natatanggap natin ng mga balita na pati si Senator Manny Pacquiao ay tatanggalin na rin po, no? So, ang una pong mga question katulad po sa ginamit na argumento ni Congressman Arnie Tevez, pinipilit ni Senator Manny Pacquiao na sabi niya, wala naman, hindi naman ako napatawag. Sabi niya, ako yung dapat magpatawag ng National Council meeting. Kagad-agad ay sinupalpal siya. Dahil sinabi ni Deputy Chairman Alcusi na mismo yung chairman, wala na pong mas mataas pa kaysa chairman ng partido na maaari pong mapatawag. Kaya doon po ay napahiya si Senator Manny Pacquiao at yun nga ay dahil iba po ang agenda niya, no, na parang gagamitin niya pa ang PDP Laban na baka sakaling gusto niya talaga ipilit na tatakbo siya. Baka dadalhin niya pa yung pangalan ng PDP Laban, no? Laban sa kung sino man ang tatakbo sa ilalim ng partido ni Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Naku. No? Yan po ang nangyayari pag overflowing, umaapaw na, no? Yung ambisyon ng katulad ni Senator Manny Pacquiao. Hindi man lang siya nakikiramdam muna kung hindi man lang siya nagtanong. Ano ba, may pag-asa ba ako dyan sa partido? Kasi pag naniniwala siya na talagang gusto niyang tumakbo at hindi siya mabibigyan ng daan yan sa PDP Laban, dapat nag-resign na siya, no? Huwag na niyang hintayin pa na mapahiya siya, no? Kaya ito ngayon ay ano ito, no? Yung mga review ng performance ng Duterte administration for the last 5 years. So nakikita po natin na sa turnout, at napakalaki po ang turnout, mga governors, mga congressmen, may dalawang senador, no? Senator Francis Tolentino at si Senator Bato de la Rosa, no? Ay makikita natin na politically ay talaga pong yung tawag sa wikang English, monolith, yung parang napakalaking at napakatigas na bato na mahirap ito banggain sa susunod na eleksyon. Hindi pa nga gumagalaw yung partido. Nakikita natin na sa survey pa lang ay ang layo-layo na, no, ng mga probable, no, mga probable na tatakbo sa hanay po ng administrasyon. At yung unang-una, dalawa dyan, no, ay si Davao City Mayor Inday Sara Duterte, who by the way is celebrating her 43rd birthday ngayon, ika-43 na karawan ni Inday Sara. Kaya Mayor, no, happy birthday sa iyo. At of course yung pangalawa po ay si dating Senador Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos. Mamaya po pag-uusapan natin yung mga maaring pinag-usapan kahapon, no, kasi maraming mga speculations ngayon. Dahil talagang kumalat yung tao dito, kumalat yung mga pictures na nag-lunch si Inday Sara at si BBM, kasama nila si Senator Amy Marcos sa isang restaurant yan sa Davao City. Isang advanced birthday celebration. Sila lang, no? Nagsama-sama sila sa isang palanghalian, sa isang kakabukasan daw, no? Nakalimutan ko yung pangalan, basta kakabukasan daw yung restaurant ayon dyan po sa Davao City. So, with less than 1 year to go before the elections, talagang umuumpisa na po na kumukulo yung tubig. Ganun, tayong mga Pilipino naman talaga po ay napakahilig natin na bantayan yung takbo ng politika. So hanggang ngayon ay hindi pa rin po malinaw kung sino sa kabila, sa oposisyon ang tatakbo. Dahil sinasabi ng lahat diyan sa oposisyon na kung gusto ni FBP Leni Robredo na tumakbo bilang Pangulo, ay ibibigay na yun sa kanya. Pero sinabi na rin ni dating Senador Antonio Trillanes na pag ayaw ni FBP Lenny na tumakbo, ay siya na gusto niya siya. Talagang inaangkin na niya na ako na. Mukhang maraming pera, no? Baka pera yan yung ebidenta niya yung Scarborough Shoal sa China, no? Pero wala lang po talaga sila. If you look at the opposition, talagang wala na pong natitira pa na pangalan na maaaring sabihin na credible. Yung pwedeng paniwalaan na may chance, no? May winning chance. Wala na po, no? Sino ba? Si Justice Antonio Carpio? Walang-wala po. Sa survey, 0.5 lang yata. Hindi pa nga umabot sa 1%. Franklin Dillon, wala rin po yan, no? Si Senator Grace po, hindi po yan tatakbo sa opposition, lalo na po na wala naman talaga siyang partido. Noong nakaraan po ay she was adopted by the Nationalist People's Coalition, yung partido dati ni the late Ambassador Eduardo Dading Cuangco, no? So ngayon po wala na at mahirap siguro na makahanap siya ng grupo na magsusuporta sa kanya, lalo na po yung mga malalaking negosyante. Okay, so bumalik na po ang meeting, no? Si Vice Chairman and Presiding Officer Energy Secretary Alfonso Cusi.
The President on the programs promoted and implemented during his incumbency in the last 5 years. We have a lot more of this, and we are going to hear some reports of Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles. When he was still the chairman of the Committee on Appropriations in the House of Representatives, there were very significant laws that were passed in Congress that really alleviated the plight of our marginalized sector. And we are going to listen to that. But at this juncture, Mr. Chairman, may I move that the National Council of PDP Laban shall give a highest degree of recognition for the efforts of our party chairman, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, and his government to alleviate the plight of our countrymen in the light of the raging COVID-19 pandemic, which is not going to be over in the next 3 months or in the next 2 years. This is going to continue beyond 2022. Yet the government continues to function, the government continues to work, the government continues to be relevant and significant in the development of this country and in our people's lives. So I so move, Mr. Chairman, that the National Council shall give the highest degree of recognition to President Rodrigo Roa Duterte and his government.
Second.
There's a motion to give the highest degree of recognition and support to our chairman. Do I hear second the motion? Everybody
Seconded.
Seconded as well, Chair.
Second. Everybody second the motion.
Second.
There is yes. So the manifesto of support hereby approved and adopted.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Let's now go to the next item of agenda, the reports of some of our party leaders on the consultations that we have undertaken all over the nation. And at this juncture, may I ask no less than our Cabinet Secretary, former Congressman Carlo Alexei Nograles, to report on the national experience of the government in consultation with our different local government units and stakeholders.
Maraming salamat. Thank you very much to our Vice President
Ano
for
to?
International Affairs,
Ano to? I-out mo to sa phone.
also the acting as moderator today. Maraming salamat, Secretary Raul Lambino. To our Chairman, beloved President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, Vice Chairperson, Secretary Al Cusi, sa ating Interim Acting Secretary General.
Ang nagsasalita po ay si Cabinet Secretary Nograles, no? Tatakbo ito bilang senador, no? Kasi narinig siguro sa radyo at sa TV yung mga patalastas niya sa isang anumang produkto yun, no? So magbibigay siya ng ulat tungkol po sa naging karanasan ng gobyerno natin, lalo na sa pakipag-away natin sa COVID-19. Balikan natin si Secretary Carlo Nograles.
Sa mga kongresista joining us physically, Congresswoman Lollipop Uwano Dizon and Congressman Bingo Matugas, at sa lahat ng mga kongresista joining us via Zoom. Sa ating governors led by Governor Gwen Garcia, here present physically, and Governor Art Yap. Sa ating mga mayors led by Mayor Ahong Chan and Mayor Jonas Cortez, who are here present. Sa ating iba't ibang mga mayors physically present and in Zoom, together with their vice mayors, city councilors, mga sanggunian board members, vice governors, fellow members ng PDP Laban, maayong hapon kanatong tanan. You know, we are a working party, a party constantly working and constantly serving. So today, I have been tasked by the chair to report on our efforts against COVID-19 and our vaccination deployment plan. Ang assignment na binigay po sa akin, pag-usapan natin ang kailangan nating gawin para talunin ang COVID-19 at ang problema po ng kagutuman. Alam niyo po, ang lahat ng utos na ginagawa natin lahat, hindi lamang sa PDP Laban, kundi sa buong bansa, sa laban against COVID ay nagmula at nagmumula ang lahat mula sa ating chair ng PDP Laban, ating mahal na Pangulo, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Kami po sa IATF ay gumagawa ng mga polisiya at nagbibigay ng rekomendasyon sa ating Pangulo, and this is part of our whole of government efforts against COVID-19. Kabilang na rin po dyan ang iba't ibang mga stakeholders, iba't ibang mga sektor, pero ang lahat po ng recommendation binibigay natin kay Pangulo, siya ang kumukumpas, ibababa niya ang kanyang decision, and tayo po sa grassroots, we are there to implement. Ang lahat ng sinasabi ni Pangulong Duterte at paulit-ulit niya sinasabi, implementation on the ground belongs to you, the LGUs, local government units, at syempre pa wag nating kalimutan ang ating mga barangay kapitan. Ang tagumpay ng ating bansa kontra COVID-19 ay nakasalalay sa kamay ng ating mga LGUs, ating mga governors, kabilang din po dyan ang ating mga barangay kapitan. Kami po ay gumagawa ng guidelines at implementation, pero ang implementation ay nasa LGU po. Gusto kong i-report sa inyo na as of May 30, 4 p.m., DOH reported 7,058 COVID-19 cases. Actually, naagapan na natin ito mula sa napakalaking bilang ng COVID sa bansa nung nakalipas na mga linggo. Maraming salamat sa response ng ating mga LGUs. Nasaan po natin na sa tulong ng ating mga mayors, governors, at lahat ng mga miyembro ng PDP Laban, may pagpatuloy natin na may baba pa ang bilang ng COVID-19 sa ating bansa. The latest data shows 53,757 active cases. That's 4.4% ng total cases. Ngunit subalit ang total recoveries po natin ay nasa 93.79%. Maraming salamat mga mayors at mga barangay kapitan. Sana patuloy po ang paglilingkod at partnership po natin. Kabalikat ang ating national government. Maraming salamat din po sa mga sanggunian members at mga kongresista. Gusto ko rin pong pasalamatan ang mga regional IATF po natin. Na alam naman po natin na napakalaki ng role nila dito sa response against COVID-19. Alam po natin na binigyan natin ng authority ang mga governors at mga mayors na mag-impose ng localized lockdown basta meron pahintulot at koordinasyon sa ating mga regional IATF. Ang localized lockdowns natin hanggang barangay, street level, building level, nasa powers ng LGU po yan. So patuloy lang po tayo sa response natin sa COVID. Dito naman po tayo dumako sa vaccination program po natin. Sabi ng ating mahal na Pangulo, i-kwento ko at i-assure po ang lahat ng mga LGUs dito. Ayon kay Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte, sinisigurado po natin at ginagarantisado natin na lahat ng regions, provinces, LGUs, cities, municipalities, 100% po ide-deliver po natin ang mga vaccines na kinakailangan po ninyo. Pangako po yan ng ating chair ng PDP Laban, ang ating mahal na Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Kami ay nagpapasalamat sa mga LGUs na gumawa ng sariling initiatives nila, nag-tripartite agreement, na purchase na kanilang mga vaccines through tripartite agreement. But again, we would like to emphasize, nag-tripartite ka man o wala, lahat ng LGUs without exemption bibigyan ng bakuna garantisado ni Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Gusto ko lang din po i-report ng WHO po ay humahanga sa ating ginagawang vaccination program rollout. But again, pinapasabi ni Pangulo, ang tagumpay ng ating vaccination program ay nakasalalay sa ating mga LGUs. Alam po natin na ang deployment ng vaccines natin, 2 phases po yan, phase-by-phase approach. Alam natin na number 1, it is by sector. Memorize yun na po siguro, A1, A2, A3, A4, A5, B at C, at by geographical approach po. So 2 basis po ang pagde-deploy ng ating mga vaccines. At syempre, malaking role po ang governors at mayors po dito. Kasi nasa gobernador at nasa mayor po ang implementation ng vaccination rollout. Magmula po sa inyo ang tinatawag na micro planning at magmula rin po sa inyo ang tinatawag natin na master listing. So kami po ay nakikiusap. Reminder lang po sa mga LGUs natin, patuloy nyo pong ibigay sa national government ang mga master list based on the priority sectors. Pakisabi na rin po sa ating mga constituents, huwag nang tingnan ang brand. Huwag nang tingnan ang brand dahil tanggapin po natin kung ano ang meron. Target po natin 70 million Filipinos by end of 2021. That means December 2021, lahat po 70 million Filipinos ang ating mapapabakunahan. Kisabi sa mga constituents, ang pinakamabisang brand ay ang bakunang nakatutok sa inyong katawan at braso. As of May 25, 2021, 7,767,290 doses have been delivered across the country out of 8,279,050 doses. 4,495,375 ay na-administer na po. Out of that, 3.466 million sa mga kababayan natin naka-first dose na, and more than 1 million ay naka-2 doses na po. Klaruhin ko lang po sa lahat ng LGU, hindi po bawal sa inyo makipag-ugnayan sa private sector sa pagpapabakuna ng constituents. In fact, iniengganyo namin kayo mag-tie up lalong-lalo na sa private sector pagdating sa vaccination sites. Kasi kailangan natin ng regular vaccination sites, kailangan rin po natin ng mga mega vaccination sites. At marami sa mga partners natin ng mga private sector ay nag-o-offer ng kanilang mga locations and venues na privately owned for vaccination sites. In fact, nakalagay po yan sa IRR natin ng Republic Act 11525 or the COVID-19 Vaccination Program Act of 2021 kung saan ini-encourage ang LGU at private sector to play a bigger role in the fight against COVID-19 para mapabilis natin ang deployment ng vaccines. Lahat ng kapartido natin ay may kanya-kanyang tungkulin dito sa vaccination rollout. Kaya kami po ay nagpapasalamat sa mga partners, members po natin sa Kongreso, mga kongresista at mga senador. Palakpakan po natin sila sa napakalaking tulong po nila sa Bayanihan to Heal as One Act at sa Bayanihan to Recover as One Act. At sa lahat ng mga ating mga polisiya at recommended na mga legislative bills pending in Congress supported by the congressmen and the senators, especially our PDP Laban members. The national government together with the local government units, mostly from PDP Laban, the private sector, other stakeholders, we must work.
Okay, so makikita po natin na ginagamit din ng pagkakataon ito ng ating national government ng Duterte administration para makabigay po ng kabuuhang ulat, overall report tungkol po sa mga nagawa na ng kanyang gobyerno under the PDP Laban, no? Kaya isa rin itong siguro advertisement para sa PDP Laban na ipakita sa taong bayan na talagang ginagawa ng PDP Laban ang mga tungkulin para po matugunan ang lahat po ng problema ng ating bansa.
Zero Hunger, kung saan itong inyong lingkod, Cabinet Secretary, ay tinalagang chair ng Task Force Zero Hunger na binuo ni Pangulong Duterte. At isa sa mga assignments na na-deliver na po namin ang National Food Policy. Itong National Food Policy, nandito po yung pinaka-game plan natin kontra sa kagutuman at malnutrition. Marami pong aspeto ang gutom. Meron po tayong action plan sa lahat ng aspetong yan. Mula sa pagtulong sa ating mga magsasaka, sa pagtugon sa mga pangangailangan ng mga kabataan at mga buntis na nanay, especially sa nutrition, sa price stability ng pagkain, accessibility, safety ng pagkain, resiliency ng ating food systems, hanggang sa people participation, kaugnay ng ating mga prinsipyo sa PDP Laban. Lahat po yan ay kasama na sa ating National Food Policy. Hindi ko na po isa-isahin ang lahat ng yan. Tututukan ko na lang po yung isang aspeto, at ito yung para sa pinaka-vulnerable sectors of our society. Ang pinag-uusapan po natin dito, mga batang musmos at ang mga buntis na nanay. Alam niyo bakit? Kasi ang ating chair, si Pangulong Duterte, may sinabatas po na first 1,000 days of life. Ibig po yan sabihin ng first 1,000 days of life, mula sa konsepsyon ng bata hanggang habang siya ay nasa sinapupunan ng nanay, hanggang siya ay ipanganak, hanggang mag 2 years old, yun po yung pinaka-importanteng unang 1,000 araw ng buhay ng isang tao. Diyan po papasok ang rapid brain development, physical development ng bata. Meron po kaming panawagan sa mga LGUs, mga mayors, mga kapatido natin sa PDP Laban. Suportahan po natin ang programang kontra gutom, kontra malnutrition sa first 1,000 days of life. Dito po nakasalalay ang kinabukasan ng ating bansa, ang buhay ng susunod na henerasyon po ng bansang Pilipinas. Meron na po tayong nilunsad na Tutok Kainan program, maliban pa sa DepEd school-based feeding program, maliban sa DSWD supplementary feeding program, itong pinakabagong programa ng ating mahal na Pangulo.
So, binibigyan si Cabinet Secretary Carlo Nograles ng stage, no, na pagkakataon para talagang nakatutok lang sa kanya. Siguro, isa ito si Secretary Carlo Nograles siguro na may tuturing natin na isa sa mga manok talaga Tatay Digong na para sa kanyang pagtakbo bilang senador sa susunod na taon.
Kasi meron tayong Philippine Plan of Action for Nutrition, kailangan po matranslate yan sa local plan of action for nutrition sa inyong mga LGUs hanggang sa pinaka-barangay po natin. Ang mga miyembro ng PDP Laban na kinabibilangan ng mga matataas na opisyal ng pamahalaan ay malaki ang naiambag sa ating paglaban sa gutom at sa pandemyang COVID-19. Maraming salamat sa ating mga senators, sa ating mga kongresista, sa ating mga sa kanilang pagbibigay ng Bayanihan 1 at Bayanihan 2, sa pagsuporta nila sa mga panukalang batas at polisiya na sinusuportahan din po ng ating administrasyon. Maraming salamat sa mga gobernador, mga mayors at lahat ng mga LGUs sa pagiging ama at ina ng inyong mga nasasakupan upang mapangasiwaan at masiguro ang kanilang kaligtasan ng kanilang mga kababayan kontra sa COVID-19. Let us continue observing the minimum public health standards. Let us continue to push our constituents to get vaccinated, encourage more to get vaccinated. But with all the efforts, cooperations, and prayers, I am optimistic that we will be able to stop the spread of this virus and eventually put an end to this pandemic. I encourage everyone to be catalysts towards winning this fight against COVID-19 and against hunger. It is my sincerest hope that we will continue to work together towards recovery. Isa-isip po natin na ang inyong pamahalaan ay tumutugon at walang tigil na nagsisikap para sa kapakanan ng
Uy, pa
bawat isang Pilipino.
game meeting to nag-aalag.
Kailangan po natin ang isa't isa. Bigkis po natin ang ating mga diwa at adhikain sa isang hangarin na labanan ang COVID-19 at sugpuin ang kagutuman sa ating bansa. Wala pong maiiwan, lahat kasali, lahat kasalo, at maliban sa panalangin, mga kababayan, kailangan natin magtulungan. Daghang salamat kaniyong tanan ug maayong hapon pag-usab.
Mr. Chair. Yes. Thank you, Sec Carlo, for para paliwanag ang hinaharap nating problema sa COVID, sa gutom. That's why last February, nagkaroon na ng panawagan ng partido sa lahat ng mga miyembro na tumulong sa hinaharap na problema ng ating bansa. Hindi tayo pwede na spectator lang. Hindi lang po tayo pwede na tingnan lang at manood kung ano nangyayari. Kailangan po ng suporta ng ating Pangulo. Sabi nga po niya, napakahirap nitong problemang ito. Minsan wala na po siyang magawa, kundi umiyak na lang din. So bilang isang pamilya, ang Pilipinas, ang kanya pong pinamumunuan, tumulong po tayong lahat. Tama po yung panawagan ni Sec Carlo na hindi lang po pandemya ang problema na hinaharap ng ating bayan. Alam po natin na bago po tumakbo si Pangulong Duterte sa pagkapangulo ng 2016, ang nagpapakain na po lagi siya.
Nag-comment si Michael Bato, mas marami pa raw nanonood dito kaysa Rappler. Kasi dito naman po, binibigyan natin ng running commentary, no? Para po makabigay ng perspective kung ano ba yung mga nasa likod ng mga pinag-usapan dyan, lalo na yung kanina na sinikap pa ni Congressman Arnie Tebes na guluhin ang meeting nito. Okay. Thank you, Michael. No?
Sinasabi, pinagmamayabang, pero tuloy-tuloy po ang pagpapakain, yung community pantry na ginagawa ng ating Pangulo. At tawag po nga natin, ang partido natin, yung Duterte's Kitchen. Hindi na lang po natin pinagyayabang, pero tuloy-tuloy po. At ako po nananawagan ngayon na sa lahat ng miyembro to give our full support, no, to the program Fighting COVID and Fighting Hunger as explained by Sec Carlo. Salamat po. Mr. Moderator.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. At this juncture, we'll have to listen to a person who has really personal experience on how to combat COVID-19 pandemic. Yeah. Before I recognize the acting Secretary General, please.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, please proceed, acting second.
I was just informed so that we have to acknowledge the presence of our Executive Secretary Salvador Bimbo Mildaldea is joining us via Zoom, Mr. Chair. Also,
Let's give Executive Secretary
Good afternoon, sir.
Mildaldea a big hand, please.
also Assistant Secretary Kim Raisa Uy of the Office of Executive Secretary. Yeah. And Mr. Moderator, Mr. Chair, may we allow Secretary Magdino to speak before Secretary Bedar Abalos of MMDA because he has to catch up light. So
Yes.
So
So, before I recognize Chairman Abalos, may I first recognize, may I ask the Chair to first recognize Secretary Dino? Mr. Chair.
Secretary Dino is hereby recognized. Please proceed.
Daghang salamat po, Mr. Vice Chairman. I'd like to welcome all the PDP officers and members. Everyone has been acknowledged already para hindi na masyadong mahaba. Officers and members of PDP na lang. I was just told that I need to speak about what the President has done here in the Visayas. Let me be very, very clear. I-zoom in ko na lang sa isang programa ni President Rodrigo Roa Duterte at kay Senator Kuya Bongo. Ito po yung malasakit centers. The establishment of malasakit centers all over the country. And it is very timely, very relevant nowadays. Ano po yung Malasakit Center? Ang Malasakit Center po ay isang center na pinukumpul-kumpul na po yung 4 na ahensya. PCSO, DOH, DSWD, and PhilHealth. Normally kasi po, when you get sick, especially yung sa marginalized sector of our society, una pupunta sila kay mayor, una sila pupunta kay governor, hingi ng tulong. Yun ang palaging patakaran. At the same time, hingi pa yan ng note galing sa mayor, galing sa governor para unahin sila sa mga public hospitals. But this time around, we have already opened 116 malasakit centers all over the country. Salamat po, Mr. President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, Senator Kuya Bongo, daghang salamat. Ano po yun? Let me go back. Alam mo, basic needs ng simple lang naman, may pagkain ka, may shelter, clothing, etc. But honestly, kapag magkapamilya mo, ubos ang pera mo talaga. Out of balance talaga ang Pilipino. Yun ang pinakamahirap para sa atin. Yun ang something that we do not expect. So, nandyan yung Malasakit Center. Especially now, COVID times, nandyan yung Malasakit Center. I mentioned the 4 agencies. Tutulong sila sa inyo. Maybe let's say may bill ka na 65,000. Magbibigay yan, tagsatang 10,000. PhilHealth, 10,000. PCSO, 10,000. DSWD, 10,000, etc. Si Presidente naglagay po dyan, buwan-buwan, replenishable yan, buwan-buwan. Iba-ibang figure depending on your bed space capacity. Naglalagay siya ng 5 milyon sa isang hospital. Paminsan, 10 milyon. Sa PGH, alam ko 100 million every month yan. So kung kulang pa ang binigay ng mga agencies na yon, nandyan yung fund na binigay ni Presidente dyan para ang aim ng Malasakit Center is zero balance ang babayaran, zero balance billing. So with these Malasakit Centers, hopefully we will still open, I think before end of the year, hopefully we can still open 30 Malasakit Centers. So hindi na pipila kasi si Presidente ayaw niya makita pumipila, naiinitan yung mga kapwa Pilipino natin. Ayaw niya tingnan yan. So dito, nasa loob na yung Malasakit Centers mismo sa hospitals. So hindi ka na pupunta today, pumunta pa sa PCSO, following day, punta ka sa PhilHealth, following day, punta ka sa DSWD, DOH, at maghintay at magpila. Doon na kayo pumunta sa loob ng Malasakit Center, ay condition pa, wala nang pila masyado. Tapos nandiyan na yung 4 na ahensya. So, yun lang ang masabi ko that please, sabi ni Presidente, sabi ni Kuya Bongo, please use Malasakit Center. Kasi pera nyo yan, binabalik lang daw nila yan sa taong bayan. So, daghang salamat po at maayong hapon.
Okay, thank you, Sec. Dino. Si Senator Bong.
Okay, so yun po si Yusek Martin Dino, no? At siya po yung presidential advisor for the Visayas yata, no? At yun nga, yung Malasakit Center, napakaganda. At dito po natin mauunawaan kung bakit talagang napakalapit ito sa damdamin ni Senator Bongo, ang Malasakit Center. Dahil siya po yung tumulak nito, no, na yung pangangailangan ng mga may pasyente sa ospital ay kagad-agad natutugunan. Tama yun, alam ko yan dahil siyam na taon akong provincial administrator noon. At araw-araw po nakikita natin maraming tao yung nagpipila dyan at humihingi ng tulong sa PCSO, sa tawag dito, sa Pagcor, no, at iba pa mga ahensya. Okay, so yun po, napakaganda. Okay, so okay, Bulacan daw, Bulacan naman councilors nandiyan daw. Mayor of Palayan City nandiyan din, no?
Serving these proceedings. Mr. Chair, may I ask the chair to please recognize the chairman of the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority, former Mayor Benhar Abalos, to talk on the NCR experience. And he is a person who has actually
experience how you can be affected by this COVID-19 pandemic. Mr. Chair.
Yes, just want to inform the body that Governor Gwen and Secretary Dino have to leave for Manila because they have a scheduled meeting with the President. So they we have to excuse them. And can we now recognize MMDA Chairman Abalos?
Maraming salamat. Hello. Maraming salamat, Co-Chairman Alcusi. Of course, gusto kong pumati sa ating mahal na Presidente, Pangulong Duterte. And of course, ang ating Acting Sec-Gen Melvin, sa lahat po ng mga PDP Laban officials. At gusto ko rin batiin si Senator Tolentino, Senator Bato de la Rosa, of course, si E.S. Villaldia, Secretary Dominguez, Secretary Wendell Abisado, Secretary Carlos Nograles, Secretary Mike Dino, sa lahat po ng ating mga governors, mga congressman, mga alkalde, sa lahat po na opisyales ng PDP Laban, magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat. Itong hapon na ito ay gusto ko sanang i-share sa inyo yung experience namin dito sa Kalakang, Maynila, dahil parang isang masamang panaginip po ito, no? Talagang itong mutation na to, gusto kong makita ninyo kung anong damage ang ginawa po sa amin at halos 2 buwan kung ano po ang ginawa namin at kung nasaan na po kami ngayon. No? Just let me share this to you. No? Ito pong screen na ito. Okay. So ito po ang aking report ngayon, ang MMDA, the time of pandemic. National Capital Region experience. Okay. So, nung pong February 22, ang talagang cause nito ay sinasabi nila pababayaan ng tao. Pero ang sabi po nung genealogy report, ang malaking bahagi nito ay itong tinatawag na Yukon variant at ang South African variant. Ito po ang, tingnan nyo po ang datos nito. Noong February 22 ay halos 3,600 lamang. No? Pagkatapos nung bandang March 3, naging 5,006 at biglang pumalo po ito ng 24,000. Kung titignan po natin ito'y February, actually no February halos mag-aano na ho kami nito, magmo-modified GCQ na kami eh. Pero napigil lang kami ng ating Pangulo, sinabi sa amin wag muna, no, GCQ muna kayo, and true enough, kumarat itong variant na ito. Tignan niyo po ang damage na ginawa sa Kalakang, Maynila. And so, ito'y pamula March 29 hanggang April 11, nagdeklara kagad ng ECQ ang IATF. Inulit ko po, itong mga ganitong status, ang may final say ay ang Presidente. Kung kaya't malaki ang pasalamat namin dahil through all of these years, the President has been the guiding force, no? He's the guiding force behind this. Kung paano niya po talaga yung mga desisyon na tama, siya po talaga ang gumagawa po nito. Ngayon, of course, walang kapalit dito sa intensive PDITR. Ito po yung ginagawa naman po nating lahat. Itong prevention, minimum health protocols. At yung detection po, talagang bumuhos po. Ang halos 50,000 na swab namin dito. Ito yung during the period of ECQ. No? Talagang kinontrol po namin ang gusto ito. No? Ito po yung talagang top of the list ng LGUs ng Kalakang, Maynila. Ito po yung mga numbers na in-isolate po namin. At hindi lamang ngayon sa treatment, napaka-essential po na tinatawag namin One Hospital Command. Ito po ay patakbo po ito ng DCDA kasama Department of Health. Tumutulong po MMDA dito. Nang sa ganoon ay tinatawag ang mga may pasyente at dinidirect sila sa mga tamang hospital, hindi lamang sa Kamaynilaan, kundi sa mga kapitbahay po namin. Dahil talaga nag-uumapaw po ang mga hospital po noon. Of course, importante, no, ang border control, ang curfew, and of course, ang data evaluation. Itong border control, anong ibig sabihin po dito? Ako'y nagpapasalamat, no, sa governor ng Rizal, ng Bulacan, ng Cavite at Laguna. Bakit po ito? Dahil ito po'y sinama ng IATF dahil humingi ng tulong ang aming mga alkalde na halos labas-pasok po sa Metro Manila. So halos nung habang kami ay gumagamot dito, ni-request namin na baka pwedeng lakihan namin ang borders namin. And true enough, umaksyon kagad ang IATF dito at sinama na ho sa Kalakang, Maynila ang mga region na yun. Kaya malaki ang pasalamat namin sa governors, sa mga mayors po ng mga kapitbahay natin. Ang Bulacan, Laguna, Cavite at Rizal. Tapos yun, talagang mga mayors ng Kalakang, Maynila, gumawa po kami ng curfew. No, talagang dalawa halos talagang nilimit po namin ito. And of course, we're always guided by data. Ang data po ng DOH, ang data ng OCTA, and of course, ang ating economic team. No? Tignan nyo po ngayon, after so many times, no? So dumaan na po tayo sa ito po ang Metro Manila COVID situation ngayon, May 30. Ang pinakamataas po namin, kitang-kita rito ay May 17. Ngayon bumagsak na ang kaso rito dahil sa ginawang ito. From 14,000, kita nyo lang, halos 10,000 na lang itong May 30. No? Halos talagang pababa pa ho hanggang ngayon. Nagpa-plateau ngayon pero pababa. Ngayon kung titignan po natin dito, importante rito, ang tanong ngayon ay anong mga klaseng polisiya meron tayo? Dahil mahirap naman kung puro paghihigpit ang gagawin namin. Of course, at this stage, we are then guided, hindi lamang ng DOH, but most importantly, ang aming economic team. Nagpapasalamat po ako, andito ngayon si Secretary Sunny Dominguez, no, ng Finance. Of course, si Secretary Carl Chua po, no? Si Secretary din po ng ating DTI, Simon Lopez, Secretary ni Berna po ng DOT. Dahil nagkatulungan sila na ang aming pong polisiya rito ay slowly but surely, and of course, andun kagad ang caution. Kung titignan po natin sa Kalakang, Maynila, ang experience namin in 2 months, dumaan muna kami sa mahigpitang ECQ. Ano yung ECQ? Talaga itong 2 linggo, walang labasan ng bahay. Dito talaga, nagbigay pa ng ayuda ang ating mahal na presidente. Napakabigat itong panahon na ito. Sumunod dito ay tinatawag na Modified Enhanced Quarantine. No? At sumunod ay ang MECQ pero with flexibility. Anong ibig sabihin nito? Nag-open kami ng konti. And then, dumating ang GCQ with heightened restrictions. Now, just to show you, ito po ang mga definition nito. I will not delve into this, no? Pero kung titignan po natin, bawat classification ay napakahigpit. Napakahigpit po niyan. Ngunit, ito problema. Meron kang mga in-between. Not necessarily 50%, 30% kasi nga ang game plan is slowly but surely and with caution eh. Kaya nga doon pumapasok yung tinatawag natin MECQ flexible or heightened GCQ. No? So ito po more or less yung mga definition nitong mga GCQ with heightened restrictions. No? Ngayon, in short, lahat po yan ay nasa table na ito. Ito po ang nagdala sa amin magmula ng MECQ na kung saan ang ECQ, alam naman natin, mahigpit ito, ang pwede lamang ang essential services, ang essential business, no, pati ang mobility, naging MECQ. No? Dito po kami dumaan. So nakikita nyo, 10%, more or less, yung mga religious activities, etc. etc. Sumunod, nagkaroon kayo ng hybrid. Ito yung flex, GCQ with heightened restrictions. So dito nyo makikita yung mga pagkakaiba at anong ginawa ng Kalakang, Maynila at lalong-lalo na ng ITF na mga definition na ito ay binawasan niya. No? Nagkaroon ng adjustments. Pero alam nyo, napakaganda na nangyari rito. Dahil talagang bumaksak na ang kaso namin, pero nag-iingat pa rin kami ngayon. Bukod po rito, ano naging sikreto? Ito po. Sa aming lugar ay 17 LGUs po kami. No? Ang naging rito ay iisa lamang ang boses namin. Iisang boses namin pagdating sa mga major policies, kamukha mo itong curfew na ito na pinasa namin, kamukha po ng mga edad na pinasa namin, kamukha ng pagsususpend dati ng mga personal care. No? Tapos ito na naman, panibaging curfew. Tapos yung mga community pantry, meron din po salita lahat ng alkalde ng Kalakang, Maynila rito. Again, curfew na naman ito. So dito po, we vote as one. Pero ang importante sa lahat, yung guiding force namin ang ating Pangulo. No? Siya po ang final arbiter ng lahat ito. Ano pong ibig ko sabihin? Sa atin, ang sikreto dito ay pagtutulungan. Sa ngayon po, tama po si Sec. Nograles, ang kailangan naman natin ngayon ay ang bakuna. Nagbabakuna po ngayon kami rito. Siguro in about 3 or 2 months talagang baka dumami, hindi natin masabi. Pero ngayon pa lang ay pinaghahandaan namin. Ang Robinsons at Shoemart, hindi lamang ho nagbigay sila ng tinatawag na mall, higit sa lahat, yung kailangan mga doktor at nurses. Nakahingi po kami sa kanila. At hindi po lamang yun, tumutulong din po sa atin yung tinatawag na T3. Ano ito? Ito po yung mga businessmen, sila Bill Luz, ito pong Ayala, yung magkalaban na Jollibee at McDonald, no? Yung private, nakiisa sa gobyerno. Paano? Para ma-compute yung mga darating na bakuna para wag masira. Araw-araw nagmi-meeting po ang mga tiga-gobyerno, mga mayors, hanggang po sila. So ito po yung makikita natin bayanihan, pagtutulungan ng lahat, ng gobyerno, lahat po ng opisyales at ng private. Of course, ang ating presidente po ang nag-lay down po ng lahat ito. Siya po ang sa mga major policy issues, siya po ang nagdideklara nito, kaya malaki po ang utang na loob po namin sa kanya. Sa inyong mga lahat, sa mga members ko na PDP Laban, sana maksipano ay nakipag-share po ako sa naging experience po namin dito sa Metro Manila. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.
Maraming salamat, Chairman Abalos. You're doing a very good job for our people in Metro Manila. The moderator, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. At this juncture, we would like to hear also from one of the stalwarts of the party, the Vice President for Mindanao, who is also the Director General of the Philippine Economic Zone Authority, to give us a few words on what PEZA has been doing for our economic workers, which President Rodrigo Roa Duterte declared during his Labor Day address last papers as economic frontliners, Mr. Chairman. So may we hear from the Director General, the real General Reserve, Director General Ching Plaza.
Okay, DG Plaza, you recognized?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our distinguished members of the PDP Laban National Council and our distinguished senators, cabinet members, our congressmen, our governors, mayors, at sa lahat po ng mga tunay at totoong kapamilya, kapuso ng PDP Laban. Mr. Chairman and all my fellow National Council PDP Laban members, ito pong nakatayo sa inyong harapan ay isa po sa mga orihinal na mga nakikipaglaban who shed tears, sweat, and love to our President Rudy Duterte. Kaya po sa puso namin, kailangan ay makapag-contribute tayo sa administrasyon ng ating mahal na Pangulo sa pamamagitan ng ating mga programa at proyekto na makapagbigay ng kaunlaran, kapayapaan sa ating bansa at sa ating mga kapwa Pilipino. Mr. Chairman and fellow members, I am proud to say that we did a record-breaking investment promotion in the Philippines, starting with the administration of President Rodrigo Duterte in 2016. So ngayon po, dahil sa ating the trust and confidence showed by the investors, both foreign and local investors, to our government, the administration of our president, we're happy to inform everyone na ang PEZA, ang ating mahal na bansang Pilipinas, ay nirerespeto na po.
Okay, so ito po si Director General Ching Plaza ng Philippine Estates, yung PEZA, no? PEZA, yung ito po yung mga investments, malalaking investments, sa kanyang ahensya po yan dumadaan, no? Yung mga nabibigyan ng tax exemption, yung mga malalaking negosyo na nagpapatayo ng mga mga pabrika sa mga lugar na tinatawag na PESA accredited, no? So, balik tayo kay Director General Ching Plaza.
Sa hindi pa panahon ni Pangulong Duterte, pinipili natin yung investors. Takot tayong mag-invite ng mga taga-China kasi yung ating old school of thought na baka ito ang magsusuporta si China sa mga NPA, mga terorista. Takot tayong mag-imbita sa taga-Middle East o mga Muslim investors dahil akala natin ito yung sila ang tumutulong sa mga terorista. Takot tayong mag-imbita sa mga Russians dahil ito ang immediate or direct enemy of the US, no? So ito po yung mga old school of thoughts na natanggal na po lahat dahil sa independent foreign policy of President Duterte. The country is now very attractive to the global investors. So nitong nangyaring pandemya, Mr. Chairman, mga kasamahan ko sa PDP Laban National Council, we are very proud to tell everybody, because of the continuing trust and confidence of our investors, parang walang pandemya sa ating mga economic zones. We continue to grow, created new and different types of ecozones, and continue to attract investors.
Okay, yung PESA is Philippine Economic Zone Authority, yon PESA, okay.
To create 1.6 million directly provided with jobs in our 413 economic zones and 4,856 export companies. Mr. Chairman, yung 1.6 million, ito yung direct na bigyan ng trabaho sa ating mga ecozones. Sa NEDA ratio po, for every one direct job, there are 6 indirect jobs created by our ecozone service providers. No? Ito yung ibang investors as suppliers, trackers, brokers, and everybody doing business in our ecozones. So if you multiply every direct job times 6, Mr. Chairman, we have created 9.2 million direct and indirect jobs in our ecozones. Magpapasalamat din po kami kay Pangulong Duterte dahil sa kanyang issuance of AO 18, Administrative Order 18, which mandates that we should accelerate progress, address the poverty alleviation, especially in the countryside, by creating and spreading the creation of special economic zones in our provinces and cities in the countryside nationwide. Kaya po ngayon, Mr. Chairman, tuwang-tuwa po ang ating mga local government units because finally, magkaroon na sila ng ecozone, and the importance of the ecozone is that this will attract more investors because dito po ibibigay yung mga incentives para sa mga investors pag sila po ay nasa loob ng economic zone. And with the new CREATE law, thanks to the economic team led by Secretary Dominguez, ay lalo nating mapalawak ang mga incentives ng ating not just foreign investors but also local investors upang ang bawat Pilipino ay makakontribute in making the country peaceful and progressive through the creation of economic zones. Mr. Chairman, nais ko pong pasalamatan ang ating Pangulong Duterte, Senator Bongo, ang ating mga presidential advisors in the various areas of the country, of course Secretary Carlo Nograles, dahil po nag-commit po sila, no? Unang-una, nangyari po itong commitment na tumulong sa ating economic zone workers and educators na bibigyan sila ng free COVID vaccine. Kasi po sila ang economic frontliner. Sila po yung nagpapatuloy sa mga trabaho, mga negosyo despite the pandemic. Kasi po, during the lockdown, while the domestic enterprises were closed because of the domestic lockdown, it's our export companies in PESA and other investment promotion agencies who continue with their jobs, with their operation. 90 to 98%, Mr. Chairman, are still operational dahil po sa tulong ng ating mahal na Pangulo ay patuloy nating binigyan ng business assistance and reliefs ang ating mga investors. At ito pong latest, magpasalamat ako kay Mayor Ahong Chan, no? Siya po ang unang-unang nag-offer ng free vaccine to the ecozone workers, no? And this was followed by the commitment of Secretary Dino, the presidential advisor for the Visayas, na hindi lang Lapu-Lapu City, hindi lang Cebu, kundi buong Visayas na mga ecozone workers will now be given free vaccine. I also got the commitment of Secretary Raul Lambino for his request, and Secretary Carlo Nograles for all the presidential advisors of the entire country to do the same by asking the IATF to provide free COVID vaccine to all our economic frontliners, not just in PESA's economic zones, but in all the IPAs of the country. So thank you, Mr. President. Nagpatuloy po ang trust and confidence ng mga investors sa atin. In fact, comparing the export income that they have contributed to the country last year, we got $12.91 billion of export income last year. Ngayon po, first quarter of 2021, ay lalong tumaas. Tumaas po ng 54% ang ating income, ang ating investment sa ating mga economic zones. And that shows, Mr. President, Mr. Chairman, that the investors, both foreign and local investors, and every Filipino has given their trust and confidence to the leadership of President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Mahal na Pangulo, patuloy po ang pagmamahal namin sa inyo, kaya po nais namin na ituloy natin ang kapayapaan at kaunlaran sa inyo pong liderato. Maraming salamat.
Maraming salamat, DG Plaza, and thank you for sharing the good news. And,
So, yun po, no? Medyo lumalabas na ni Tatay Digong, no? The President is being encouraged na matuloy po ng nalilbihan, kahit na pangalawang Pangulo ay po narinig natin na may panawagan na po na pag bumaba sa pwesto si Pangulong Duterte, kahit na lang sa kampanya sila.
is the fight against the local communist insurgency in the country. Despite all the efforts of the government to talk with our brothers who continue fighting the government for peace talks, it seems that no direction will happen that way. And so the President, together with our armed forces of the Philippines, the Department of National Defense, the National Security Council, the Department of Interior and Local Government, and the local government units of the country adopted the so-called LCAP, End Local Communist Armed Conflict. At this juncture, Mr. Chair, may I request the Chair to recognize some of our PDP Laban stalwarts, starting with Governor Mick Petilla, to talk about the experience of the local government unit in the fight on insurgency in the province. And then here is with us Governor Archap, the province of Bohol. It's also another insurgency area before. And maybe perhaps Governor Ibardone of Eastern Samar, if he's still in the Zoom meeting, to talk later on. So may I ask the Chair to recognize first Governor Petilla, to be followed by Governor Archap, and then Governor Ibardone. But before that, Mr. Chair, may I acknowledge the presence.
Mr. Chairman, Mr. Moderator, before you proceed, first I'd like to ask Zoom and to acknowledge that we acknowledge Speaker Alan Lord Velasco, who is participating in this meeting via Zoom.
Let's give a big
can
hand to
the
Speaker.
Secretariat please zoom in Speaker Velasco. So anyway, if you're working on that yet, thank you, Speaker, for joining this National Council meeting of PDP. Moderator, yeah.
Mr. Chair, as I was saying, the PDP Laban National Council meeting is joined by our PDP Laban overseas chapters all over the world. And we have the PDP Laban chapter of Qatar, Mr. President of the Council, Joseph Rivera. And we would like also to inform everyone, and we note the efforts of the PDP Laban leadership to take care of our overseas Filipino workers. I understand that the Overseas Filipino Workers Act, creating the Department of FW, has already been passed in the House of Representatives. Let's give hands to our members of the House of Representatives and their leadership with Speaker Velasco, and our senators, especially Senator Bongo, Senator Bato de la Rosa, Senator Tolentino, and the other senators who are supportive of these efforts, Mr. Chair. So again, Mr. Chair, this juncture, may I ask for the Chair to recognize Governor Petilla.
Governor Petilla, you're hereby recognized.
Mr. Chair, maraming salamat sa ating mga secretaries, sa ating mga all the officers, no, mga present today, at saka yung mga kapartido ko. Siguro hindi ko lang mapaglipas yung pinakamalaking accomplishment ni President Duterte sa province of Leyte, kasi parang hindi na-mention kanina, no? Yung laban sa insurgency. On March 2019, merong nag-surrender dito ng mga 1,200 people, including 262 na mga regulars, no, regulars and militia ng bayan, parang gano'n. And then a month later, nag-usap kami kung ano ang mga hinaing nila. And then marami silang mga sinabi, yung water system daw nila, yung kahirapan nila, yung hanap buhay, at saka yung iba sa kanila kasi nakatira, squatters, karamihan sa kanila mga squatters sila doon sa isang hacienda, kaya nagkakagulo. So yun yung mga hiningi nila. And one time after that, mabuti na lang na-approach ko si Senator Bongo to relay a message kay Presidente. And then, to cut the long story short, ako po yung papasalamat talaga kay Presidente kasi meron ng 262 houses na kinoconstruct ngayon dito sa Leyte para sa kanila. Joint kami with the province, ang lupa kami nag-provide. And then, ang tawag namin dyan, ang Peace and Prosperity Village. And then, kasama sa lupa nila yung garden lot, no? Garden para sa pagtatanim, pag-ano nila. And then, meron ng mga water systems na kinakabit din.
Okay, so ngayon po ang nagsasalita ay si Governor Mike Petilla tungkol po sa accomplishment o yung mga nagawa po ng ating Duterte government para po humupa na, no, itong problema natin sa communist insurgency na sa ngayon ay gusto pang parang kuna ng mga pera o budget ng ilang senador na parang ayaw nila na magtagumpay ang mga pagsisikap ng ating mga local governments, no, pati ng military, para matigil na po ang pag-aalsa na ito, yung armed conflict, no, ng mga komunista. And by the way, gusto kong pasalamat po sa kasi sa loob lang ng 2 oras, higit 50 o 60 na mga bagong subscribers na nag-subscribe po sa channel na ito. Kaya gusto ko po pasalamat sa inyo dyan na hindi po nakapag-subscribe. Please do subscribe, at kung hindi pa kayo nakapag-thumbs up, ay ganoon po, please also click the thumbs up sign.
Po, maganda ang takbo ng ano nila, ng buhay. Maraming mga anak nila ay nag-aaral na. Iniisa-isa na rin natin ang malnutrition. May report kanina si Secretary Nograles, no? Sec, by the way, ang province of Leyte from 25% malnutrition rate we are down to 6%. 6% na lang. And then, yung food sufficiency ng province of Leyte despite of the pandemic, we are producing much more food than we can consume sa province of Leyte. Marami tayong nagre-rely din ng mga neighboring areas na dito rin kumukuha ng pagkain. So, siguro karamihan ng mga kababayan natin with the support din ng mga national agencies, no? Yung mga livelihood programs including sa ating mga former rebels, ang TESDA, of course, ang DTI, ang DSWD, ang DOLE, lahat yan, yung mga livelihood programs, talagang binuhos dito ni President Duterte sa Leyte. Maraming nakinabang. So na-achieve natin ang food sufficiency, na-achieve natin ang insurgency free, at saka na-achieve din natin ang report din Secretary Nograles kanina parte sa maternal mortality. Okay, ang maternal death, neonatal death, lahat yan, yung infant death, malnutrition rates, lahat yan na-accomplish natin ang Millennium at saka Sustainable Development Goals. And hindi yan mangyayari kung kami lang dito sa province. Definitely. Malaking talaga ang naitulong ni President na ako medyo natatouch talaga ako dyan kasi despite na originally hindi ako kapartido, alam niyo naman yan lahat, no? And then although PDP ako nung college ako, nung panahon ng martial law, I was with the PDP. So again, despite of that, tinulungan pa rin yung province of Leyte. So I think everybody ought to know sa ginawa ni Presidente dito sa amin. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you very much, Governor Pacquiao. And we recognize, we duly take note of the report that you've shared, and I instruct the Secretariat to please incorporate that in our report. Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Chair, may I ask for Governor Archap to say a few words of his experience in the province of Bohol?
Yes, Governor Yap is hereby acknowledged, recognized. Thank you.
Salamat, sir. Secretary Cusi, to Secretary Carlo Nograles, to Melvin Matibag, our Deputy Secretary General, my good friend, former Congressman Jonas Cortez, my former classmate sa House, to all our national officials, local officials sa PDP Laban. Maayong hapon ka natong tanan. A week ago, I attended the RPOC meeting in Dumaguete City, sir, where the President gave orders and gave the instruction that there will be no concessions nor power sharing nor any quarters given to the CTG. Within 24 hours, sir, we were on the ground. The 47th IB scored a victory against CTG forces. Out of 11 heavily wanted CTG members, we were able to deliver at least 5 dead from that 11 most wanted list. And I would like to thank the President for the support that he is giving us. And I'm writing the President on this issue, and at least letting him know that Bohol is doing its part against the LCAC, and we are also awaiting the support that he has committed to the province of Bohol. But all through the last 2 years, we are very much thanking him for all the guidance that he has been giving us, especially sa issue sa LCAC. I'd also like to thank the national government and the President for accepting in that meeting, sir, the proposal of Bohol that maybe we can start looking at reopening certain key tourism destinations so that we can do our part in economic recovery. Thailand is not concentrating on reopening the entire Thailand. They're concentrating only in Phuket. Indonesia is concentrating only in Bali. They're not concentrating on reopening the entire country of Indonesia to tourism. Maybe in our country, considering that there are some tourism destinations that are ready to really open up, kung pwedeng ma-advance lang natin yung vaccination sa mga lugar na to, baka matulungan na we can create a model for reopening certain destinations in our country so that through this, we can do our part. Mabuhat mi sa among parte na we will do our part in economic recovery efforts of our country. So nagpapasalamat po ako sa presidente sa RPOC meeting when he accepted that proposal. And they are giving this consideration at the highest levels of government right now. So that just shows that the president is really, he is all over the place to the extent humanly possible. He's really giving attention to each and every concern, especially very sensitive siya sa mga request ng mga governors and mayors, being a former long-serving LGU head, no, local chief executive. Damang-dama niya at saka naiintindihan niya yung mga pangangailangan at saka kung hanggang saan makatulong yung local governments. No? So we would like to thank the President for all of these efforts. And at this point in time, we wish him well from Bohol, and we wish all the cabinet and all the officials, especially the hardworking members of PDP Laban. Bohol is supporting all of you, and at the right time, we are going to welcome you should you wish to come and visit us. And our prayers are and our support are with you. Daghang salamat, sir.
Daghang salamat, Governor Art, and nice to hear the success of LCAC under the leadership of our.
So napansin niyo po na turismo yung emphasis ni Governor Art Yap ng Bohol dahil marami pong mga tourism destinations dyan sa lalawigan ng Bohol, no? Both on the beaches at kahit po sa mga bundok ito. Napakaraming lugar na napakagandang lugar na maaaring bisitahan ng mga turista. Again po, yung mga hindi pa po nakapag-thumbs up, request ko lang po para po na tama po si Edna de la Garza, yan, timing, no? Thumbs up po para sa program na ito, no? Babatiin ko rin si Johnny Sardovia, Bongbong Sara for President, Bongbong for Vice President, no? Si Bibi Lola, hello po, no? Let's pray for a better Philippines. Sabi ni Ernesto Soriano, Pacquiao for janitor.
Support coming from the different chapters of PDP Laban, coming from different local government units, coming from different sectors. And may I read this manifesto of support, Mr. Chair? Please proceed. PDP Laban, kaisa ng Pangulo para sa patuloy na pagbabago manifesto of support. Since 2016, the government under the able leadership of Party Chairman President Rodrigo.
So ito na, no, mga manifesto of support. Ito na yung dito maaari pumasok yung panawagan ng PDP Laban na hihikayatin si Pangulong Duterte na huwag muna siya magretiro pagkatapos ng 2022, kundi tumakbo siya bilang pangalawang Pangulo. Kaya marami po mga tanong-tanong ngayon. Kung tatakbo nga si Tatay Digong bilang pangalawang Pangulo, sino yung magiging katandem niya? Sino ba ang tatakbo bilang Pangulo? So babantayan po natin yan, no? Kasi alam natin si Tatay Digong napakagaling ito sa tinatawag na the art of war, no? Yung pinapalito niya muna. No? He likes to confuse the enemy para mahirapan mabasa ng mga kalaban kung ano talaga yung nasa isip ni Tatay Digong. But ito po yung mga tawag dito, mga manifesto of support ay dito na po mag-umpisa yan, no, na talagang pipilitin siya, no, kung merong salitang pipilitin siya ng mga kapartido niya na tumakbo bilang pangalawang Pangulo, no. Okay, Mama Christy, Ma'ams watching from Taguig. Nathan Aguinaldo, natuwala ako kay Pacquiao nung siya ay nagkusa Aalisin de Lima bilang chairman ng Blue Ribbon Committee, no? Edna de la Garza, 12:55 a.m. Uy, nako, nagpuyat si Edna dyan sa LA. Thank you very much, no? Evelyn Uyama, watching from Tokyo, Japan. Estelita Taisa, kay BBM for President, BP State, no? Digong, si Tatay Digong. Okay. Ern Honores, we are all blessed to have a God-given president, no? We are proud to be Filipino. JC Cheats TV, good afternoon. Lay Diaz, okay, kabilang parlor, sabi di daw pwede tumakbo as VP si President. Wala pong prohibition na gano'n, no? Walang prohibition na tumakbo itong pangalawang Pangulo, no? Wala po, wala po. Yung prohibition ay hindi siya maaaring tumakbo muli bilang Pangulo. Okay, salamat Manis live streaming, no? Okay, pleasure, no? Okay. Jennifer Acaso watching from Wolverhampton, England. Ismail Bayas, dapat alisin yan si Manny sa PDP Laban. Si Michael Batumule, no? Watching from Vancouver, good morning. Nora Komoda, okay, timing pag-open ko. Muramatsu Chris, BBM loyalist. Si Tab Channel, BBM for President, Sarah for VP. Lawrence Sablan, no, watching from Jasper, Alberta, Canada, 2 a.m., no, 2 a.m. Oh, thank you very much, no. Samantha Tenko, watching from Chiba, Japan. Sana makonvince si Tatay Digong na tumakbong VP. Okay, balikan natin yung PDP Laban meeting.
Of the agenda, may I ask the chair to recognize Secretary Noel Belonco of the National Anti-Poverty Commission. May I request you, sir, to please join the to please come up the stage and join the presidential table.
Please join us here at the chairman's table.
The next item of the agenda is very important, Mr. Chair, which is the convening of the PDP Laban National Assembly. Mr. Chair, the setting of the National Assembly is significant because, as we all know, we have already mentioned this, there are vacant positions in the party. And also, it is in the National Assembly that we have to select who would be our standard bearers in the forthcoming 2022 national election. It is for this reason that we are asking now the National Council, pursuant to the provision of the PDP Laban Constitution and bylaws, to please set the date of the holding of the National Assembly, as well as the venue where we are going to hold this National Assembly in preparation for the 2022 elections. And if I may so state, Mr. Chair, the powers of the National Assembly pursuant to the provisions of Article 18, Section 3 of the PDP Laban Constitution as follows. First, formulate and adopt policies, plans, programs of the party, as well as positions on various international and national issues. Approve, propose amendments to this party constitution. Nominate and proclaim the party's official candidates in the national elections. Revise, alter, modify, or repeal any resolution, decision, action taken by the National Council or by the National Executive Committee. Nominate and elect national officers and national committee chairmen of the party. There is a suggestion, Mr. Chair, that the National Council meeting also will hold its third quarter meeting this year, which will be held on July 16 this year in Luzon. And after that, we are going to listen to the various chair of the national committees for the report. So, Mr. Chair, the suggested date for the National Assembly will be on July 17 in Luzon, subject to IATF restrictions.
Okay, we're discussing here the date for the National Assembly. First, just to make it clear that the National Council meeting has to be done every quarter. So we're going to have our next National Council meeting on July 16. That is for the third quarter of this year. And thereafter, it is proposed that we have our National Assembly, where we are going to tackle the issues, the concerns that our moderator, Secretary Lambino, have already explained. So July 16 is the proposed National Council meeting, and July 17 as the National Assembly. May I hear any reaction from the body? Before we recognize other members of the National Council, Mr. Chair, let us clarify that the holding of the National Council can only be called upon by the National Chairman. And so our suggested date of July 16 is subject to the approval of the National Chairman of the party, Mr. Chair. And also
That's
let us clarify that the convention of PDP Laban for purposes of the selection of our official candidates in the 2022 election can only be held later on. So for purposes of the National Assembly, the planned National Assembly, the primary purpose of that, Mr. Chair, would be the election of party officers, Mr. Chair.
Okay, any reaction from the body? So do I hear there's a motion, seconded, any objection? And the dates proposed that will be that is subject to the approval of the chairman, of the party's chairman. No objection. So the dates set will be presented to the chairman, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte.
At this juncture, Mr. Chair, may I ask again the chair to please recognize our acting Secretary General to discuss the reports of the chairman of the national committees of the party.
First, Acting Secretary, do we have any reports from the different national committees?
Mr. Chair, there is none as of now, so there was no submission from any committee.
Okay. May I know who are the chairpersons of the different committees?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Yusek Astrabel Naik is the chairperson of Membership Committee. Ms. Rupina Arcega, chairperson of Education Committee. Honorable Governor Antonio Co, chairperson of Finance Committee. Attorney Alberto Wilfredo Oxales Jr., chairperson of Legal Affairs and Arbitration Committee. Mr. Ronald Monsayak, Public Information Committee chairperson. Yusek Ryan Esteves, chairperson of Livelihood Committee. And I was informed, Mr. Chair, that Attorney Kat Contacto was the chairperson of the Committee on Youth, which was submitted to the COMELEC in 2019 election CUs.
Thank you on that. For enumerating the names of the different committee chairs. And now, may I know what is the pleasure of the board, considering that we didn't, the secretariat or acting secretary has not received any report from the national committees.
Mr. Chair, may I ask the chair to please recognize Undersecretary Astrabel Naik?
Yes, Madam Astra, everybody recognized.
On behalf of the membership committee of the PDP Laban, may I just like to report to the party, to the National Council meeting, that our party, from being a Volkswagen party, has become a really, really big and successful party, especially with the victory of President Duterte, our national chairman. So from having only two national leaders who were well known in the party as of present, Mr. Chairman, I would like to put it on record that we already have around 100,000 party members, subject to the completion of all the requirements as stated in the party constitution. And of course, we have the President of the Republic of the Philippines having brought into power due to the expansion of our membership. And with this, Mr. Chairman, I would like to bring also to the attention of the National Council that the Executive Committee made a resolution in 2017 about the membership fees. However, Mr. Chairman, this has not been subjected to the approval of the National Council. And for this purpose, Mr. Chairman, I would like to propose to the body that pending the National Assembly, we would like to peg for the meantime the national membership fees at 1,000 pesos each, and other dues that will be required from other members, political figures, incumbent officials shall be subjected to the approval of the National Council on the next meeting. So I move that we adopt the membership fees in the amount of 1,000 pesos for all the members.
You're proposing that we refer that to the National Assembly for approval.
Yes, Mr. Chair.
That's a motion.
I second the motion,
Seconded.
Mr. Chair.
Okay, any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved.
Another matter for the membership committee, Mr. Chair, in preparation also for our next National Council meeting and in preparation for the upcoming National Assembly, the committee hereby requests the authority from the National Council that the membership committee shall be the sole authority to handle the membership the conduct of the basic membership seminars and basic membership orientation seminars, as well as determine who are the legitimate party members of the party. I so move, Mr. Chair.
So you're proposing that the committee be given the power to process. Can you please restate again
I move that the membership committee will be given the power and full authority to conduct basic membership seminars and basic orientation seminars and to process the completion of membership as stated in our party constitution and this shall be approved by the National Council so that we can be prepared also for the calling of the National Assembly.
Okay, so there is a request by the chair of the membership committee that the committee be given the power to process, conduct educational requirement of prospective members and approve to accept or not to accept.
I second, Mr. Chairman.
Any motion to approve the request of?
I second the motion.
There's a motion. Seconded. Any objection on the request of the committee?
Second the motion, Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Chair, before we approve the motion of Yusek Astra, may I just clarify, as the Vice Chair of the Education Committee National, Mr. Chair, may I clarify from the movement whether the Education Committee will be part of the giving of the BOS?
Yes, of course, because the Education Committee shall be the one to provide the trainers that will conduct the basic membership orientation and basic membership seminars.
So in other words, Mr. Chair, the BOS will be conducted by the membership committee and the Education Committee.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So there is a motion, duly seconded, and the question of has been answered. Considering without any objection, then the motion is approved.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Moderator, please. There being no other chairman of the national committees, Mr. Chair, who are ready to report in the respective committees, may I move that the National Council shall direct our national committees through their chairperson to render the respective reports on our next national council meeting. I so move, Mr. Chair. So requiring all the other committees to render their report on the next council meeting. There is a motion. Seconded. Any objection? Hearing none, motion is approved. Mr. Moderator. We'll go to the other matters for discussion, Mr. Chair. This is the last item of the agenda. There are some pending issues and complaints, and at this juncture, I am just a second, Mr. Moderator. Regarding the financial status, of the party, considering of the forthcoming 2022 election. Let's require the chair is proposing that we require the treasurer to conduct to render a report to the National Council the status of the health of the financial status of the party.
Yes, Mr. Chair. We
So, the secretariat, please require our treasurer, the national treasurer, to render an account of the finances of the party.
We'll take note of that, Mr. Chair.
Okay, Mr. Moderator.
let's now proceed, Mr. Chair, to the other matters. There are letters purportedly signed by some members of the National Executive Committee.
Yeah.
I think the chair is in receipt of this letter.
I am in receipt. I'd like to submit this to the National Committee. I'm in receipt of this National Executive Committee Resolution number 3, 2021, questioning my actions in various occasions where we initiated meetings with local party leaders in Luzon, Visayas, and Mindanao, wherein attend this past resolution urging leaders to run in 2022 election without the benefit of due process in accordance with the bylaws of PDP Laban. What I'd like to do is give this to the secretariat so that this can be addressed properly as part of our due process. So, secretariat, section, please, and that should be given to the committee that would investigate that accusation.
Mr. Chair, may I make
Mr.
this
Chair.
observation, Mr. Chair? Given the fact that earlier we have already approved this manifesto of support coming from the different chapters of PDP Laban, coming from local government units, coming from different sectors. And I think that letter that you received from the National Executive Committee also refer to the same acts purportedly committed by the Vice Chairman when he went around the country. So the fact that the National Council has already unanimously approved this manifesto, I do believe, Mr. Chair, that whatever complaint the other party members relative to your actions in the past is already moot and academic, Mr. Chair. I just want to put that on record, Mr. Chair.
Okay.
Mr. Chair.
Yes, Acting Section.
Sir, incidentally, Mr. Chair, I also received a letter, actually a resolution from the provincial chapter of Bulacan, resolution number 2 asking for explanation from members of the PDP Laban who are openly criticizing the administration, the president, and the chairman of the party. So I will await for the disposition. If I will refer it also to the proper committee, Mr. Chair.
Okay. I just want to add, based on the resolution number 3 that I just handed to the section, that has to be referred to the National Council for proper disposition and has to be tabled in the next National Council meeting, which we have proposed to be on July 16. Okay. So, Mr. Moderator.
Mr. Chair, at this juncture, one of our regional officers, Mr. Alonso Saclag of the Cordillera Administrative Region, who is also our regional president, is asking him to be recognized for matter of personal and collective privilege, Mr. Chair.
Okay. Mr.
Palagay ko ito na kay Pacquiao. Okay, ito na siguro.
Magandang hapon sa ating lahat. Mr. Chair, gusto ko pong batiin ang mga kasamahan natin na nasa sa Zoom at sa mga kasamahan natin na nandito. At gusto ko din i-recognize ang isang gobernador sa amin na member din ng PDP Laban, si Governor Ferdinand Tuban ng Kalinga. So nasa Zoom meeting, nasa Zoom po siya. Mr. Chairman, members of this National Council, I rise today to refer to this body the actuation of Mr. Ronald Munsayak, the chairman of our Public Information Committee. Nakita po natin na lahat yung banat niya sa Facebook ay masakit basahin at masakit pakinggan, kumbaga. Bilang isang anak ng partido PDP Laban, ang ating lolo na, ang ating tatay nene ay namatay na. At alam ko na ayaw niya yung ganong kaguluhan sa ginawa niyang partido. Ano? So, ang tatay natin, ang ating chairman, na si President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Masakit po na isang tatay ng ilang libo na anak, sabi ko kasi lahat tayo anak ng ating ama na President Rodrigo Roa Duterte. Nasasaktan po ang aking loob sa mga banat ni Ronald Munsayak. Kung nakikita nyo, lahat siguro dito, yung mga pumasyal kay Ronald Munsayak sa kanyang opisina o kanyang tanggapan. For example, mga gobernador na pumupunta doon, mga mayors. Kung minsan kasi po, Mr. Chairman, ay nandun ako ay tumatambay. So lagi niyang sinasabi sa mga ating kasamahan, kung may problema ang kaunti, tignan natin. Pag may tinatanong ang mga kapartido natin, tignan natin. Dapat siya po ang tumutulong sa atin to connect sa mga ating leaders na nasa taas. So ang feeling ng ating mga kasamahan sa partido ay napabayaan na. Mas mabuti pa yung nasa ibang partido kasi nandoon sila naaalalayan. At itong mga hinaing ng ating mga kasamahan ay hindi napapaabot dahil ang gusto ni Ronald Munsayak ay sinasanitize muna. Kung may problema yung isang member, hindi niya dinediretso na sinasabi kay Senator Coco o sa ating chairman. So gusto niya malinis muna. E paano yung mga problema hindi nakakarating? So ngayon, nagkakaproblema tayo dahil sa ganong gawain. Napuno na po ako, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Munsayak, alias tignan natin, has openly come out in this media misinforming our members that this meeting was not sanctioned by our chairman. In fact, he has openly challenged our chairman by questioning the statement and confirmation made by no less than his spokesperson. Are we okay? Mr. Munsayak is guilty of conduct detrimental to the interest of our party by continuing to foment or provoking disunity and by causing intrigue and circulating divisive misinformation and aggravating this by using his PDP position as his platform. Mr. Chairman, therefore, Mr. Chairman and the members of this council, I move that we suspend Mr. Munsayak pending investigation, and if found guilty, Mr. Ronald Munsayak be expelled from the party. I so move, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, so yun po, no? Hinikayat ngayon na i-suspend itong si Executive Director Munsayak, no? Ron Munsayak. Pero may nag-object, no? Pakinggan.
The party's democratic process. And instead of acting on the motion by Mr. Saklang, I would like to suggest that we refer that to the proper body to look into it and then thereafter we can discuss that in the next council meeting. Mr. Saklang.
I submit to the wisdom of the chairman, but if I may, I would like to ask the National Council to direct Mr. Ronald Munsayak from making any further divisive statement. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Just the same, we will refer that to the National Council for their deliberation, for the deliberation of the body later in the next meeting. Thank you, Mr. Saklang, for understanding the position of the chair. Okay, so, Mr. Moderator, thank you, Mr. Chair. Given the fact that Mr. Saklang has adhered to the suggestion of the chair and withdrawn his earlier motion, we will now proceed to the next item of the agenda. I think this is the last part of our agenda. Again, Mr. Chair, I am in receipt of several petitions and resolutions emanating from the different local government units, different chapters all over the country. And may I read the title of these resolutions and manifesto coming from the different chapters of the party and from the different local government units all over the country. We have passed several resolutions, Mr. Chair. These are just a few of the resolutions that we have received. And the text of this resolution read as follows. Resolution to convince the party chairman, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, to run for Vice President in the 2022 national elections. And for President Rodrigo Duterte to choose his running mate for president in the 2022 national elections. So these are resolutions that the council has received from different regions, different chapters of the party, and from the different local government units. Elected officials of these LGUs who are not members of PDP Laban but have come up with a resolution strongly urging the president to seriously consider running for vice president in 2022 national election, and for the president, Mayor Rodrigo Roa Duterte, to choose his running mate for president in the 2022 national election. As moderator of this National Council meeting, may I move, Mr. Chairman, that this National Council shall adopt a resolution following the early resolutions made by the different chapters and different local governments all over the country to convince the PDP Laban Party Chairman, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, to run for Vice President and to choose his running mate for President in the 2022 national election. I so move, Mr. Chair.
I second the motion, Mr. President. I second the motion, Mr. Chair.
Second number kayo. Bilis naman. Any objection? No objection. Motion is approved. Thank you, Mr. Chair. There being approval of this motion, of this resolution, I have a copy here of unsigned resolution of this National Council. May I ask the Vice Chairman, who is now the acting chairman in this National Council meeting, to first do the honor of signing this resolution to be followed by the other members of the National Council in today's meeting, Mr. Chair.
Okay, so yan po, no? Ito yung highlight ng meeting na ito ng PDP Laban National Council yan po sa Cebu City. Yan po ay kakapasalang ng isang resolution na hinihikayat to convince the PDP Party Chairman, President Rodrigo Roa Duterte, na pumayag na tumakbo bilang pangalawang Pangulo in the 2022 elections at siya po ang pipili. Yun po ang pangalawang bahagi ng resolution na hindi lamang na pumayag si Pangulong Duterte na tumakbo bilang pangalawang Pangulo, kundi siya rin po ang pipili kung sino ang gusto niya magiging katandem, no? Sino yung tatakbo bilang Pangulo ng Pilipinas. Kaya naku, knockout ito yung mga kung anong mga plano ni Manny Pacquiao na gusto niyang tumakbo bilang Pangulo ng Pilipinas. So I think yan po ang pinaka-highlight nito. So Pacquiao is definitely out of the question na parang tinanggal na rin si Manny Pacquiao ngayon kasi parang gusto niya pang mas mataas pa ang tingin sa kanya ng kanyang mga kapartido dyan sa PDP Laban at siya yung papatakbuhin bilang Pangulo. Yung pagkabali niya, una doon siya nag-apply sa One Sambayan. So kung gusto niya talagang tumakbo as candidate of the One Sambayan, siguro mag-resign na lang siya at kumbinsin niya si dating Justice Antonio Carpio at kumbinsin niya si FBP Lenny Robredo, kumbinsin niya rin si yung sundalong kanin, no, na si Antonio Trillanes na ibigay na lang sa kanya yung papel na yan, no, na siya yung tatakbo para po sa opposition, no. So siguro ito ang dahilan kung bakit na parang nararamdaman na ni Manny Pacquiao na mukhang mawawala na siya sa equation, no. Okay, so hinikayat kayo, no? Hinihikayat na pinapapermahan, no?
Ben Ibardone of Eastern Samar be recognized.
Yes, Governor Ibardone, you are recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Magandang hapon po sa atin lahat. The provincial chapter of the province of Eastern Samar has also adopted a similar resolution to that effect, Mr. Chairman. And on the issue of insurgency, I'd like to take this opportunity to ask the support of this of the body to pass a resolution urging the two houses of Congress to maintain and expand the LCAP funding, Mr. Chairman. Although at present, Eastern Samar is not a beneficiary of the LCAP funds for those cleared barangays, I firmly believe that these funds are very important in ensuring that our kababayans in the hinterlands will feel government presence and government services. So deleting or scrapping the LCAC funds will only bolster the insurgency problem in several areas of the country.
Okay, so yun po si Governor Ben Ibardone, no, ng Eastern Samar na ipinaparating niya sa National Council ng PDP Laban na hikayatin yung mga kasapi dyan ng PDP Laban, both in the lower house of representatives and in the Senate, na huwag payagan na mabawasan, no? Kasi may mga hakbang dyan yung mga dilawan na senador na gusto nila tanggalan daw ng budget ang National Task Force for the End of the Local Communist Armed Conflict, lalo na itong si Joel Villanueva at itong si Sherwin Gatchaliano at sinusuportahan ni Senator Franklin Drilon. Mukhang talagang ayaw nila matigil, no? Ayaw na mahinto ang problema sa insurgency kasi nga sa sinasabi ko ito po ang gusto ng mga oligarko, no? At mukhang ito rin ang gusto ng Central Intelligence Agency. So yan po, no? So bago tayo mag-wind up, no? Gusto ko lang po ulitin na sa hapong ito ay nagpalabas po ang National Council ng PDP Laban ng isang resolution na hinihikayat si Pangulong Rodrigo Roa Duterte bilang party chairman na ikonsidera niya at mag-decide, no? Tanggapin niya yung panghamon nila na tumakbo na lang ito bilang pangalawang Pangulo, and in a very, very rare, no? Talagang hindi po nangyayari ito kasi yung kasanayan po dyan, yung kung sino po yung napipili ng partido na siyang tatakbo bilang Pangulo, ay siya po ang pipili ng kanyang running mate o by candidate for Vice President, ito po baliktad, no? Hinikaya si President Duterte na tumakbo bilang Vice President at pag bumayag siya, siya ang pipili kung sino ang tatakbo bilang Pangulo. Okay, so i-continue natin ito mamayang gabi, no? Dahil may naka-schedule tayo, naka-live stream tungkol naman doon sa pagtagpo ni dating Senador Bongbong Marcos at ni Davao City Mayor Inday Sara Duterte kahapon doon sa isang restaurant sa Davao City. At mukhang lahat po ay naniniwala na ang kanilang agenda kahapon ay ang tungkol po sa May 9, 2022 election. So maraming salamat po sa nagsubaybay sa hapon ito. Mahahaba. 3 oras tayo. 3 oras po yung coverage natin. Higit 16,000 yung views. Tinignan ko dito sa YouTube, higit 16,000. Although pabalik-balik yung iba, no? Hindi tumatagal. Pero isa ito sa pinakamalaking o pinakamaraming viewers sa aking mga live streams. So muli po, ako si Manuel Boy Mejorada mula dito sa Metro Manila, Philippines. Magandang hapon po sa inyong lahat.